This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Draco Kurova of Cactar, Taliesin True Strike of Fairy, and Severick Roland of Behemoth. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Unhero.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Mika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio. Episode number 89? Is it 89? No, 87. There we go. Thanks for joining us here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Good to be back. Glad to know that nothing burned down while I was away. I see that we've still got our studios.
Just barely. That's actually a lie.
In good order.
It helps that you lock them out while you're gone.
It does,
Things
yes.
have been burned, we just hid them.
Oh, good.
We had a great cleaning montage. It was like the end of the movie where I had to get everything put back in shape right before the parents got back.
Yeah,
Oh.
great. Yeah. They destroyed things like self-esteem, confidence.
There you go. Yeah, and you can never get those back.
No, it's
Thanks-
like Ascalia's virginity.
Thanks for joining us here at
Oh, high school.
twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Was that a humble brag? That sounded like a humble brag. That sounded like a humble brag. My goodness.
It wouldn't be a humble brag if you knew any of the stories behind it. You'd know how sad it was.
All right, well, guess what? Family events were always so complicated.
It sounds like story time to me.
LimitBreakRadio.com, of course, is our website. If you haven't yet, go subscribe to the podcast over there. You can also do so through iTunes and Google Play. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us here today. I want to thank anyone who ended up going out to Alamo City Comic-Con, although I didn't end up meeting anyone who was fans of the show out there. I know, but that's okay. I did hear from a couple of people that were looking for me that didn't find me. Apologize if you weren't able to find me. But
Did you leave your beard out there?
I did. I shaved it for a costume. And
so
actually
weird.
2 costumes. And it's coming back like this is not even a week. This is not even a week. And
but
I'm like,
even with the shadow, you still look like we're out there playing Pokemon and talking. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, who the fuck is this? This is so weird.
It is
we get
weird.
a new host?
It is weird. I definitely don't like it, but you know what? It was worth it. It was totally worth it. We're going to talk a whole bunch about Alamo City Comic-Con and the shenanigans that went down out there over on Final Encountercast. We invite you to join us over there. That's twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. That's at 5 o'clock. Join us. We're going to be talking all about Alamo City Comic-Con, as well as we're going to talk today a little bit about voice acting and why performance matters. Of course, SAG-AFTRA has initiated their strike against the video game industry. I got to spend the weekend getting to know some very talented voice actors, and they were kind enough to share their opinions with me, one of which is James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Tidus. He's going to be joining us today. We'll hear my interview with him out at Alamo City Comic-Con about the SAG-AFTRA strike. So you guys can hear it straight from the horses' mouths, exactly what is so why this strike is such a big deal. Of course, we are live from Eorzea. Let's flip it on over to our Eorzean studios. If you'd like to join us in Eorzea, you can, of course, join us on the Sergeant Tannis server that's in the Goblet, 5th Ward on Plot 30. You can come sit at the big round table. You can dance in the background.
Get on the cock table.
You can get on the cock table.
I'm sorry, the what?
The cock table.
It's just a table where people can sit and enjoy themselves.
It is clearly a cock.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It is very clearly.
It's ejaculating and everything.
Yeah.
That's just the throw rug. What is your problem? You guys have sick, perverted minds.
Coming from the guy who's brought us the cock table and such things as the Louis Swa shower room.
That's right.
That's the Skuro room.
Uh-huh. There's a butt plug on the stool now.
Yeah, I know. I put it there.
Yeah.
Ever since I took out the shower, no one goes in there anymore.
Thematically, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, so thank you guys for joining us here today. Of course, we are supported by our generous fans over at Patreon. We invite you to become a supporter over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. That's how we are able to afford to do this show each and every single week. But not just this show. Our other show, Final Encountercast, is also done by your support over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Currently, we're sitting at $1,703 incoming a month. And while we thank you guys for all of your support, we really need to see that number crawl back up to above 2,000. Now, this is really important because we have just depleted our coffers from all of the traveling that we've done between Alamo City Comic-Con and FanFest. It took not only our energy, but it took a lot of funding. And of course, we thank you guys for allowing us to be able to do that. But we are coming up on tax season, so it means that we have to be able to cover ourselves for that. So we need to see that number go back up above 2,000. So if you have yet to support Limit Break Radio, head on over to patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Give $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can give month over month to help bring you the content that you enjoy each and every single week. We got some very cool access out at Alamo City Comic-Con. We're going to be able to, have those guys hopefully back on the program to talk more about what voice actors do and how they, how they do it. And it's an incredible, way into the video game industry. And it's something that I know that we all really enjoy. Like, as I know, I'm a bit of a voice actor nerd. Like voice acting has been a big deal for me as a huge fan of cartoons growing up. I loved Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network cartoons, and these are a lot of the same talents that end up going on to work in the video game industry or work on anime. And, I think that that's all something that we can all connect on. And so I think it's really fun and important to talk to these folks. And Alamo City Comic-Con provided a way for us to kind of get to know some more of them and expand our network a little bit, which is really, really cool. And of course, FanFest is just the best way to be able to interact with and hang out with you guys. And I can only really speak for myself, but re-energizing some enthusiasm back for 14, internally, I know some of us were dragging on that. And so, these are hugely important events, and your funding is really central to being able to do, things like throwing the after party out at, out at the Rock House, or being able to participate out in Alamo City. So again, patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. That's how it's done. It's also done through your generosity over PayPal. And speaking of generosity, Nika, just an hour before we were getting ready to set up here, wrapped up Extra Life, which is fantastic. So Extra Life, if you don't know what that is, it is a charity event where gamers come together and game for 24 hours straight. We've done a little bit more organized efforts for this in the past, and it's something that we always really want to do, but it falls at a really tough time for us. This has been particularly busy for us with conventions and stuff, but it does normally fall around our normal like hometown convention too, which, by the way, we're so wiped out from conventions.
None of us went to.
We tapped out on Youmacon this year.
Yeah.
I mean, if that tells you, honestly, like if that tells you, anything about what we've been doing and how hard we've been working between FanFest and Alamo City, that should tell you right there. Like, we decided, like, dude, Youmacon is too much, and it takes a lot for us to skip out on Youmacon. So,
speaking of Patreon, really quick too, I want you guys to make sure that you are on the lookout, because coming in December, I am going to be starting up a new little campaign with Patreon that is going to be awarding certain levels. I think $20 and above.
Okay.
Special exclusive Limit Break Radio paraphernalia, swag, stuff like that if you miss out on, you cannot buy again.
So does it count for the people who are already at 20?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
if
right.
you're already at 20, you're good. You're fine.
You're
gonna
locked
get
in.
it,
You're grandfathered in.
Or ahead. But if
when does that start? Like if people wanted
December.
No. Like if people wanted to bump up to 20 a month to be able to get in on this, could they do that now?
Yes. If they did it now, if they did it this month, they're
then
guaranteed to have it for December.
All right. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So it's like a mystery gift.
Well, it's going to be the same thing. Like each time, it's going to be like a reoccurring sort of like collection.
Okay.
I'm going to be releasing more information very soon. Now that
Okay.
Yomacon's over with, I can get with the artist because she was at the Artist Alley.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah, be on the lookout for that though. Everyone that I've
Very
talked
cool.
to so far has been like, I would totally bump up for that if I wasn't already there.
Right on. Okay, cool.
So does this go out for everyone who's paid 20 or did $20 Patreon donations in the past too?
and like bumped back down?
Nope, you have to be.
You have to be at it now. Now, as of this announcement.
Yes.
Now, as
yes.
of, so for November going
Right.
forward,
Right.
be at 20.
Okay, there we go.
If you're at 20, if you pay $20 in December, you get it. If you pay $10 in January, you don't get the January one.
Okay.
All right, so that's the way it's
Oh,
going
so
to
it's
work.
different.
Oh, so it's going to change.
Every single month.
Oh, I like
wow.
this. I like
Okay, so
this.
there's
For
like
how
a-
long? For
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
And if it goes well, if this is received positively, we'll see about doing similar stuff like this, so that you guys are getting monthly LBR swag and merchandise.
So
and
it's a little bit like a mystery box and loot crate shoved into one.
sort of.
Yep. But with one item.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. All right. Yeah. So there you go. I actually did not know that. Thank you for telling me.
No, nobody knew that actually.
This is
yeah, I've mentioned this in the chat before, so yes, people should have known.
Oh, okay. I guess I just wasn't paying attention.
That doesn't surprise me.
I never pay attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, again, thank you guys for your support at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. We send out a big backlog of T-shirts. I'm not sure how are Pops. Is there more T-shirts that need to be made? We're good. We're current on T-shirts. Current on T-shirts.
Well,
look at that. Yeah,
we're current, kind of. I haven't sent Papa the
updated.
for,
okay,
for
all right.
October yet.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay,
so he's current.
He's current.
He's gonna get a whole backlog of work to do
Well-
and like tonight. So
Something else to mention too
Yeah,
is
okay.
we're also working on the next poster.
All right.
Okay, once this poster goes into circulation, the old poster's out
It's
of
done.
circulation.
Right.
So if you don't have that poster yet,
it's gone.
think
It's
about
done.
think about bumping up your Patreon before it's too late.
There you go.
And unlike SE, it will not be appearing in the cash shop.
That's right. This is the
Well, I mean, what if we put it up there for like a ridiculous amount of money, like $200?
$3,200.
$200.
Yeah, no, we're not
No?
going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because
But I'm really money grubbing.
I know you are.
Exclusivity. Sign it.
I know. It just hurts. It hurts my I don't know my
wallet.
No, I can't rip people off like that, man. Like that's not cool.
I
It hurts his
can.
artistic
I know
integrity.
you can. clearly.
Nero is an artist, guys.
Oh my God!
Eat shit and die.
Wow, that's tough.
That was unnecessary.
Okay. That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for joining us this week here on Limit Break Radio. I, of course, was out last week at Alamo City Comic-Con. I was not able to be here.
And we thank you for that.
We were supposed to be making a big announcement out at Alamo City Comic-Con, and I was told when I got there, we're not ready yet. So, I know. So, we're waiting. We're waiting until they're ready to say something. We don't have any control over making the announcement. So once we get the green light, we're going to tell you guys. But it is super, super exciting. I did find out a little bit more while I was there about it, about the plans for it. And when we do get the green light, I know that you guys are just going to lose your shit.
Speaking of losing shit, for everyone who donated $200 last year for me to Femro it up, I did go through with it. Last episode. Yeah. I did go through with it. I am a Femro now.
You just can't tell.
You can't tell because I am the shortest, prettiest Femro and also wearing a mask. So I just kind of look like a really ugly higher male.
Oh, okay. That's fair. By the way,
just like in real life.
We got so derailed from this. I wanted to congratulate Nika and all of Team Limit Break Radio for what they were able to raise for Extra Life. Again, that goes to help kids with cancer. 24-hour game-a-thon. You can still help out. You can still donate if you want to. That's extra-life.org/team/Limit Break Radio. You can choose any of those people. If you want to add to our total of $3,012 for Team Limit Break Radio this year. And yeah, congratulations, guys. That was that's really awesome. You guys did a great thing. So again, extra-life.org/team/Limit Break Radio if you want to get in on that and help some kids with cancer. And again, a huge thank you and shout out to Nika, who jammed out all 24 hours here on the Limit Break Radio stream.
25 hours.
25 hours. That's right. Daylight savings time was thrown in there too.
Nika, would you like to say any words on that experience you had?
I actually kind of thought she might be there. Apparently she's asleep, but she may join us a little bit later. We're not entirely sure.
Get back to work, slave.
So anyway, congratulations and thank you to everyone who gave to Team Limit Break Radio for Extra Life. And yeah, as far as Alamo City Comic-Con goes, it was a lot of fun. We'll talk a whole lot more about that over on Final Encountercast. We want to invite you to join us at 5 o'clock over there, and we're going to be on that. On this episode, we're going to be talking to James Arnold Taylor. That's going to be coming a little bit later. Of course, the voice of Tidus, as well as Johnny Test and Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. He's done a ton of voices. Fred Flintstone. He's I think the new voice for Fred Flintstone. Anyway, he's going to be talking with us a little bit later on in this show. And then over on Final Encountercast, we're going to be joined by the voice actor from Dragon Ball Z who plays Goku, Sean Schimmel. He's going to be talking to us about the SAG-AFTRA strike over there. So if you want to get two perspectives on the SAG-AFTRA strike, we're going to be giving it to you in spades, I guess. So join us. Yeah. So join us over at Final Encountercast at 5. Again, we're going to be talking to Sean Schimmel about the SAG-AFTRA strike, and we want to thank both of those guys for giving us time. It was really amazing. I can't wait to share some of my stories from out at Alamo City Comic-Con. All right. Let's check out what's going on in FF14 News.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
So, of course, we saw the release of patch 3.45, the addition of the endgame levels of Deep Dungeon. Hell, I guess. Okay, sure. We'll go with that.
Hell Dungeon.
We also saw new animal weapon story quests have been added. Players will be able to enhance the strength of their animal weapons by completing couple of quests. What do we know? I actually have not looked at this at all.
I hear it's
pretty
stupid and easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need 50 cores, which you can buy for 150 lore each. Also, there is a weekly quest to do, is it 5 leveling roulettes? 3 leveling roulettes that will give you 10 cores.
And they can also do an expert roulette quest every day for 1 core.
Oh, yeah. So basically, people are like, if you just sort of casually do it, you can easily do it in max 2 weeks.
Yeah. Easy mode.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Wow. That's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean,
Well, after this last one, you're probably still working through that. Juxta, how far along are you?
I'm not even halfway.
Yeah.
I stalled down on it big time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does seem just like that's the second like gimme step that I think that we've had in this relic quest.
What was the first gimme step?
Aether oils?
Was that this step?
Well, not...
Or
well,
was this
Yeah.
this expand? Was it? Huh.
I don't remember.
That was the third step,
Yeah,
right?
the third one.
I mean, I just feel like it's very comparatively toned down from A Realm Reborn's relics. I mean, I felt like I remember every step of that relic. And
Because it was all like every way to get that relic, I feel, was very specific. You know, you had to go and do books. You had to go and gather light. Whereas, as we mentioned with this one before, there's always lots of different things that you can do to help gather what you're
so
getting.
yeah, you end up being like, I
I gotta
accidentally
farm Laura again.
Whoops.
Again.
Well,
Yeah.
and 150
Again.
lore a pop, that's nothing.
Yeah,
Crank
it really
that in no
is.
time.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it. It just feels like that shit should be more meaty, but whatever.
Well, it is for the bad players.
Owned.
Wow.
Juxta.
Okay, well, Escalia, you've
what?
given up on being a bad. Anira, have you done your anima quest at all?
No.
Well, then what do you care?
I don't really. it's my
If you're not doing the content, you can't have an opinion
That's
about
right,
it,
yeah.
Aniro.
Well-
Why would you not want to do every bit of content this game has to offer?
You need to have fun by doing all the content.
Every single content should be done.
being serious right now?
I'm being Nika right now.
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense.
She's not even here to defend that or get offended by it.
All right, to be fair, if she was here, she still usually can't defend against it.
Papa, can you be Nika for us for today? Should you be offended?
be Nika.
I like that response. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
That's what Nika would say.
Well, the femro, he's got the femro pipes.
I know,
going
it's
on.
really
yeah,
good.
That's
I'm
accurate.
impressed.
That's accurate.
He's a little short.
No, look, yeah, I'm not there. I haven't been working on it. I've been, very, very lazy. I haven't been working on anything. I have not been playing much.
You just haven't
I'll be
been
honest.
working.
I'll be honest. I mean, like leading up to FanFest, I had kind of disconnected from
As did I.
playing the game a lot. And where you guys got to come back and immediately reconnect, my head started going towards, Alamo City,
Prepping for that, yeah.
and getting ready.
See, it's
I
not-
never, like when I reconnected, I only like half reconnected, and then I was gone again and out for 4
Okay,
days.
but it's not fair to say that you've been lazy. Like, you haven't been logging on or playing FF, but you have been keeping busy, and you have been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So give yourself a little bit of credit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not.
You have a lot
that's
of
not
shiny
inaccurate.
Pokemon now.
I know, right? I know.
Actually, you'll be glad to know, Aniro,
What?
I even actually finally, for real, unsubbed from World of Warcraft. I didn't actually do it when you told me to.
That's good. So I mean, well, let's put a pin in the World of Warcraft thing. We'll come back to that. We'll after we get through the update notes and we'll come back to World of Warcraft. But I only really kind of half reconnected. And then flew right back out for Alamo City, and coming back, when you've been disconnected for almost 3 weeks, it is so hard. And I'm not even talking about like the podcast or plugging back into FF14. I'm talking like I'm having trouble plugging back into my life.
Yeah.
It's really fucking weird.
I slept till 5 p.m. yesterday.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Because you're a terrible piece of human debris.
No, because usually I'm up at like 1 or 2. Like 4 or 5, I actually start to feel bad about myself.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't sleep that late. I took yesterday, to be fair, I had a bit of the con plague coming back both times. Like
You had a bit of con plague going out to FanFest.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been one sustained
I think it's just the Nero plague.
I think it's just a Nero.
I
my
think that
God.
you have a scoliosclerosis.
No, come on. If anything, it would be a near AIDS.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Okay.
In your ear aids?
So it's
ear aids.
It's not inaccurate.
It's a lot better than the pot poops.
Yeah, you're not wrong. No, but I mean, like, yes, on my
That
way
comes out
out,
both ends.
on my way out to FanFest, I was feeling a little bit under the weather. It just feels like one very light, sustained sickness for like 3 fucking weeks. So I took yesterday and completely did nothing but sat around and watched stand up and did Wonder Trading on Pokemon. And yeah, like I'm only now just really starting to reconnect and really starting to get back into not just my life, but also FF14 and everything else. So I am still, this is sort of a disclaimer, a way of saying like, yeah, I'm still very disconnected from FF14. And if, I mean, all I have is, my opinions to go on. If you want me to comment on experience, Juxta, I'm not sure that I can do that. I'm not sure that I can do that. So
Jesus, did you even try?
I did.
No.
I've been trying very hard. Thank you. Anyway, so some new side story quests have been added. What Lies Beneath and Dead But Not Gone. What are these for?
That's Palace of the Dead.
Oh, that's the new Palace of the Dead stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And it's good.
So
far.
Well, the quests are kind of dumb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was real complex.
Click on this guy. You've completed quest.
You're done. Yeah.
Good job.
The quest itself was done. I mean, Palace of the Dead.
Fair enough. All right, so let's talk about Palace of the Dead because this is the biggest addition from 3.45. We got floors 50 to 200, right?
Yeah.
51
Yep.
200.
So have you guys had a chance to go in? What are you thinking?
Yeah,
right.
that's all I've been doing.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It is so
Well, tell me about it.
much fun.
I'm
Tell us, Paolo.
like I said, I'm very disconnected right now, so I feel like I got to be the interviewer.
Sell
in this.
a Nero on playing Final Fantasy 14 again.
No, like what's so good about it? What did they do right here?
It's dynamic content.
Okay, cool.
All right,
That's
first of all,
good.
it's the exact same thing that we've been doing,
Right,
right? And
yeah.
from floor 1 all the way up to 200, you are literally doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
But the fact that it's random every time you go in,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, random based on the layout. Mobs are still the same, and actually when I realized that mobs are the same based on every 10 floors, that was kind of like, But your Pomander use, the traps, like all of this stuff, you have to remain in the moment. You are making decisions based on what's happening, not based on a pattern, and that alone keeps you engaged. I have,
Can't autopilot.
Well, at
Yes.
least that's something different from
Yes.
most of the other content in 14.
Yeah, and even when you get to the point where you're good, like I have a static that I do with Juxta, Diamelos, and Heart Slot, and then I have one that I'm doing with Heart Slot, Diamelos, and Zemless, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows what they're doing, but you still have to communicate with each other. There has to be like 1, maybe 2 people in charge of Pomanders. Otherwise, you get people like Zemless going, "Can I use this Fortune Pomander?" At the end of a floor, it only affects the floor you're on. Everyone, no, uses Pomander. God damn it, Zemless.
Sounds like a Skuro move to me.
It was a total Skuro move, yes.
But you're right. Like, what's nice is you might do the same set of 10 floors 2 times in a row, and they'll be completely different experiences. I've been doing leveling up 2 save files at the same time, trying to get my weapon caught up. And the first time I was doing like 61 to 70. The first time it was just a regular kind of run through. We all had no problems getting through it. Until we started getting to the later floors and they started getting hard. The second time, though, we got a bunch of Rage Pomanders right off the bat, and it was
helps.
a completely different run.
Yeah, but what's great about it is when you're doing, let's say, Savage, for example, you know when the oh shit moments are coming.
Yep.
Every Savage battle is the same because the pattern's the same, right?
Yeah.
No matter where you are, what floor you're on, how far in you are, how many Pomanders you have, when you run over a luring trap at the same time that you spawn a Mimic, oh shit!
Yep. Or
you poop your pants.
So, yeah, some extra mobs.
There's no puckering about it. It just comes right out.
Some extra mobs pop, and then you like try and take a step back, step on a landmine, and take down your party's HP.
God,
Oh my god!
yes,
Yeah,
traps
man.
add that little extra bit of dangerous flavor in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the thing that I love the most, which I recognized last night as a ninja, is that all of those skill sets that I spent all those years in Final Fantasy XI developing are coming back into play. Things in here aggro either by sound or by sight. And you have to know what it is. And if you're a ninja, you can use hide to like scout around and get chests. That way your player doesn't have to worry about fighting through those areas. It's the difference between 5 minutes left to go for a boss fight on floor 160 and 25 minutes left to go on a boss fight for floor 160.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're so right. I hadn't even thought of that. But when you play Palace of the Dead, you can tell, like if you're with randoms, who played 11 and who didn't, because you can tell who knows how to dodge sight aggro and who doesn't. It's blatantly
who knows
obvious.
to fight in the hallways?
Yep.
So, I mean, like, because I feel like I didn't get any sense of this style of play going between 1 and 50.
No.
And is that because, I mean, do you guys think that that's because of the leveling up mechanic? And now that we're at level cap, it's more like, oh, okay, now I really see how this system's potential can be used.
When I first did floors 50 to 100, I was still leveling up a weapon because I just got my Patology daggers or whatever. Heartslot, who's been soloing through Palace of the Dead, hers was almost at max, okay?
Right.
But even with one at max and with one under leveled, we kind of, I don't want to say struggled, but you can tell, like with some of the meteor mobs that had more HP, it took a while to get them down, right?
Right.
When we went back through our second time and we had 2 DPS that had almost max weapons, you tear through things so easy that even 50 to 100 seems like the old 1 through 50.
Okay.
But then at a certain point when you get into the 100 floors, you start to feel that meat from the mobs come back again. And the biggest thing isn't even necessarily your weapon, how much you're hitting them, but your armor as well. Juxta, would you like to tell us about your experiences of going to floor 100 with severely underleveled armor?
Okay, so basically the problem was that I wanted like decent weapons, so I turned my Aether gear, which was like at 43, 45, and I turned it into a Pelagia weapon to get my outside weapon up to date again, kind of. And so now my gear is like at 13, 15, and I was maybe half the HP of our white mage, or our, what was it?
You had
scholar?
like 4,000 HP.
Yeah, so I was basically weakened the whole time, and it just carried me the whole time.
Double weakened the whole time.
Oh my
he kept getting one-shotted by everything. Yeah, so it really plays like a huge role in it. And at the same time, the other thing that I like about that, now that they have the leaderboards in there, everyone who goes in there, especially once you get capped, is on the exact same footing gear-wise. This is 100% down to skill. You can't have any kind of benefits or bonuses from your gear and your weapons.
Interesting.
And the thing that I like is that it kind of harkens back to 11, where if you know what you're getting into and you come prepared, then it makes things a lot easier. Case in point, healers bring echo drops for the trap that pacifies and silences you. If your healer gets hit by that, then you're kind of boned for 30 seconds. But if your healer has echo drops, then they can cleanse themselves and cleanse the other party members and just move on with your life.
Or if your healer is good and is hanging back in the hallways, so they don't get hit by the traps to begin with.
Well, let's not get carried away here.
But no, you're right. There is an import to that. I bring max potions in because if you get in a run with no healers, you better be able to keep yourself up and around.
Why wouldn't you take a healer with you?
Yeah.
Random matching.
Oh, honey.
You sad bastard.
Wait. Hold on. You're a Dragoon. I hear that Dragoons are really good for soloing. I think they were one of the first ones to get to floor 100.
They're pretty good overall. I mean, they do find DPS. I'm saying you should bring some max potions. Someone steps on a trap, you can heal yourself.
What about your Wyvern?
Yeah, your Wyvern can heal you too.
Yeah, what about that?
Wow, okay.
Healing breath?
You're just a monster.
Come
okay,
on.
Great.
Aww.
Remember when I was happy? Man, good times.
So let's talk about let's talk about the rewards here, because that was one of the big, I don't know, criticisms that I had of 1 to 50 was that there didn't really seem like a very well justified reward to be able to take out of it. You got the weapon, and the weapon is cool, but it seemed like all of the work that you were putting in really only helped you in that system.
And it was immediately outclassed, I think, 2 weeks later when they came out with the augmented, what were those, lore weapons?
Yeah.
The Accursed Horde has done wonders for Deep Dungeon. Okay, first of all, it adds that aspect of like randomness and like mystery and like, what am I gonna get?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the times it's just fucking fireworks. But there's tier 5 materia.
Okay, that's
which
not bad.
It's brought the market way down, but it's still at a point where, you know, you can still sell off for a few 200K. And now, as someone who doesn't do endgame rating, I'm actually at the point where I'm starting to feel justified putting tier 5 materia into my gear.
Okay.
I wouldn't overmeld it, but yeah, I'm actually looking at it now and being like, I get so much more
That makes sense.
crit with
Sure.
all this stuff in my gear. So that's
Sure.
cool.
Right.
But you can also get, they've added the high replica Allegan gear to,
Ooh.
yeah. So
That's not bad.
It's not, because barely anybody crafts those for a
Right.
few reasons. The first reason is that you have to do coil to get a lot of the mats to do it.
Right.
The second reason is when it comes to things like leatherworker, there's no reason to specialize into those except for that.
Right. Okay.
So nobody
All
does
right.
it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it has crashed the market. I mean, some of those things are only going for like 20K now.
Yeah.
But some of them are still going pretty high. At 100 plus, you get the glowing primal stuff. So, like, you know, the Garuda weapons that glow, the Mog weapons that glow. And
then
those are still going for like
Okay.
800K to 1.4 mil. I sold 2 of them last night. I had 2.7 mil waiting in my delivery box.
Well, I got dicked over because I got the Titan Dragoon Spear, and it started at 2.3
Well,
mil.
it just looks like shit.
I
is
was
the
gonna
thing.
say, to
I mean,
be
dude,
fair.
it's the dumbest looking one.
It's
Yes.
dropped to like 80K now.
Yeah.
I'm
Because
like,
no one likes it.
Yeah, that shit to begin with. But
Yeah.
it's also super popular right now because it just came out. Give it a few more weeks, and people that are just in it for the novelty will probably stop doing it. And as we've both said before, I mean, okay, Escalia, it's cool that you got up to, what, floor 90 in your little mixed party?
110.
110 in your mixed party. That's pretty legit. I don't think you're going to get much higher unless you get really, really lucky.
It gets that crazy, does it?
Dude,
Wow.
especially at 150, like the 50 to 100, if you don't have maxed weapon, like you can tell there's a big difficulty curve, right?
Sure.
And even 100 to 150, it starts getting more difficult. But at 150, they were not kidding at FanFest. It's fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yes.
The Posh Panda in the chat says the gear from Palace of the Dead should never stand up to current raid/scripture. It's too casual of content to warrant it. It being one tier behind those is fine, though.
Well, it doesn't actually...
I'm not. Hang on. I wasn't saying anything about the stats on it. I was hoping for at least something like an exclusive set that only came out of Palace of the Dead. Aha.
Aha.
Okay.
Now, I haven't seen this firsthand myself, but I have heard accounts that if you get to floor 200, you get an item that you can turn in that gives you access to a new unique set of gear.
Get the fuck out of here.
And I've heard, again, people
Isn't
can
this
correct
just
me in the
rumor
chat.
mongering?
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't think that's true.
That sounds like an urban legend right now. Like, to me,
People have gotten to floor 200, though.
I know
Can
that they
somebody
have.
confirm?
So, yeah, because that to me, I don't think Square Enix would do that.
That to me sounds really smart. So I don't think Square Enix did that.
I know it throws up all of the red flags.
That sounds to me exactly like Tai Jin drops refresh scroll.
Hey, he does.
That's what that sounds like to me.
In my return trip, I found him and I killed him and I got a refresh scroll.
Do you guys remember the Black Pegasus in Sorkai?
Yes.
That's a mount that drops from the Accursed Horde 150 to 200.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That's
pretty cool. I gotta say.
There was a black mage that was sitting on it right next to the dude. And it's like, you motherfucker.
Yeah, I thought that you got an earring out of getting to 200, but
That's what people seem to be saying in the chat.
People are saying that they're earrings. They're fucking Are you
That
fucking?
better not be it. That'll be stupid. Square Enix, you put fucking gear in there right now.
It's a set of earrings, 2 colors. See that now that's like a slap in the face, because that would have been great. I think that
Yeah.
you know, like if there was an exclusive gear set, or at least one exclusive piece, more so than a fucking set of earrings that you could get out of that, I think that would be a big deal. Even if it was something that, you know, stats wise was kind of useless. Like
Yeah.
I always thought, for a long time, you know, while it was still new and people were still struggling to get gold on it, you know, the Odin helm was so cool like that because it like meant something when you saw it.
Things don't have to have gear. Glamour is the real end game.
It really is. It really is. So, I mean, like, it's surprising to me because, like, and I don't even think, like, putting it at 200 is a lot. Like, that's why I thought, like, no, there's no way Square Enix would do that. And it being a pair of earrings makes sense. But if they had made an exclusive set that came from Palace of the Dead that was like, I don't know, even I-190, but it was exclusive glamour gear, and put that throughout Accursed Horde drops, man, that
you don't even get a title for getting to 200.
I think you would have gotten I think you would get way more people who would want to do it. I mean,
absolutely.
It's great that the replica Elegant gear comes out of there. Like, that's a good idea, especially because that market was fucked. But if it was exclusive, man, it could have been so much better.
Yep. There's also, you can get Wind Up Edda. I've gotten 2 of them. The first one I managed to sell for 1.3 mil before the market bombed it down to like 100K. I got so lucky.
I got 2 as well.
Yep, I got another one that I used. You can get the Orchestrion Roll Black Bosom, which is like Edda's like theme. You have to get that from the Accursed Horde. And when you clear 150, you get access to another Orchestrion Roll that you have to buy with pot shards. And then at 200, you get access to you get access to another Orchestrion Roll with pot shards. So I mean, if there's a collector in you when it comes to stuff like that, there's still a reason to go to 200. All the minions that can drop from Aquapolis can drop in here, and I guess there's also some Palace of the Dead specific furnishings like floors and walls and stuff like that. And someone's saying that you can craft something that goes in your house.
When you clear 200, you get an item that you can either turn into the earrings or a furnishing or an outdoor furnishing for your house. That's your trophy.
Cool.
Oh, okay. I also heard that if you level Dragoon all the way up to floor 200 solo,
nope, I'm not.
You get a wyvern pet.
You get a wyvern pet?
No, that's wrong. It doesn't give you the pet, but it does give you a new skin if you already have the pet. It's like an undead skeleton one.
No, it gives you an earring.
Oh,
you idiot!
Didn't we?
And you can sit on the bench too.
You can't sit on the bench.
You do get to sit on the bench.
Let me tell you though, guys, seeing screenshots of like that sort of empty, like Promethean looking area and actually being there, 2 entirely different things. That place looks so fucking badass. It is so amazing. They have like these cool particle effects, and like the walls are like shifting sand. There was actually one instant when we zoned in. It was right when we started floor 160, and we zoned into a room that had one way out of it. And all of our cameras were facing the dead end, and the walls don't look like walls. They just look like this foggy like sand. So when we zone in, that's all that we saw. We thought it was like a fog of war situation where you don't actually get to see where you're going till you're already in the room, and we're all like, oh shit. And then we turn around like, oh, whew. Still scary though.
Hentai Girl in the chat saying, look, Limit Break Radio crew excluding Nika is casual, and of course casual complain again when things are exclusive and need more brains. Great nerf incoming. Thanks, you quackers.
Wait,
what?
I really just wanted to read it because Quackers is a new one for me. I've not heard that.
Was that a mistyped Quakers? Is he saying we're a religious group?
I don't think so. Quackers.
Wait, they're saying that we're complaining that things are exclusive, but we literally just said things need to be more exclusive.
That's what we want. We're happy.
What? No, we want it to be even more exclusive. Do you even listen?
The majestic space duck.
Is that your duck impression?
Yeah, that's my duck impression.
Thank you for the view, Hentai Girl.
For the view?
Yeah.
You want to hear my impression of a duck choking on a pencil?
Why a pencil specifically?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That was actually, I think that was I stole that joke from a stand-up comedian.
You son of a bitch.
I guarantee you I did.
I know that now.
I know I saw that on like Comedy Central in like 1993.
Why would you steal that joke?
It's one that I stole it when I was a kid. I knew that it was stolen when I took it, and I've been telling it ever since. I don't know why.
That comedian has played the longest game with you on that one. He's like, I'm going to get one person to remember this stupid joke, and that's what they're going to remember from my bit.
It's not even a good joke. Not even a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Stealing makes everything better.
Now, you want to talk about some impressive stuff that's being done with Palace of the Dead. All right, so there is an achievement for soloing to floor 100, which a few people have done. You get the title, The Lonely Explorer. Which,
oh, it's so sad.
Come on, Square Enix. This has been a perfect time for us to be like the King of the Dead or the Queen of the Dead. That would have been a pretty awesome title.
Yeah. So the title's not even good?
Yeah, The Lonely Explorer. But there are people who are trying to now solo to 200.
Oh my god!
Why would you not?
Wait, all right, you've cleared 150. Is it possible? Do you think?
It might be possible to solo to 150. You're not going further than that.
No? Okay.
No. I think as of yesterday, Heartslot was telling me there is a paladin who's leading the charge. He was like going through the 140 floors. A scholar had actually made it, I think, into the 130s. But yeah, there was a few handfuls of people that were getting up there. So
I don't see how you wouldn't just time out.
Honestly, I think that's the biggest risk you run going through there is timing out. Yeah. Now, what really sucks for those soloers is when you wipe and you don't have like a re-raise up. When you're above 100, you have to start back over at 50.
Ooh. Oh, that's how far back it sends you.
Well, because you have to get to floor 100 with no party wipes in order to progress further.
Right.
Wow.
Once you get a party wipe, that's it. You have to start back over at floor 51 again.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I thought you started back over at 101. I didn't realize it was back to 51.
No, I'm pretty sure you have to go back to 51 because you have to have no party wipes just to get past 100.
Yikes.
Yeah, you're right. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough.
So, was there anything added, like, I don't know, like objectives or like puzzle?
No.
Because, I mean, one of the things that I always loved from Nizul was the lamps. You know?
Yep.
Like, the lamps was a really great aspect. It took some party coordination. Anything like that going on?
Not yet. However, and I know that we've said this before, but I feel like we've finally gotten proof that Square Enix can follow through with it. There is room to expand.
We've heard this before.
A lot of people, if you think back to the Halloween event we just got, a lot of people were like, guys, this is a proof of concept. Right? Because they had a bunch of these different objective-based things that they were doing in there. It would be so easy for them to now toss this into here. And now remember, they're also looking at Deep Dungeon, because Deep Dungeon is the event name. Palace of the Dead is just the dungeon name.
Right.
So going into, I don't know if we're going to get another one in the 3.x series, but going into 4.0, we could get, the Palace of Sand or something, right?
Well, the way that they made it does seem pretty modular in the way that they could deploy new versions of it. You know what I mean? Like, they really, all they really need to do is change the textures that are applied to that set of floors, and boom, you've got it's the system is pretty much they're setting it up to be the same moving forward, and I think that that's smart. It's a good way for them to create more content quickly that they can make relevant through a number of different ways. I would have loved for it to be the rewards out of it to be a little bit more thought out.
Yeah. MV's also saying that another thing that sucks for solo players is that if you get disconnected from the server, the game counts it as a wipe.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Then you have to start all over again.
Ooh, that does suck.
Yeesh. Yeah.
I mean, especially if if you're dealing with Comcast or something. Ugh. That's a dicey proposition.
Oh, which by the way, fuck you, Aniro.
Oh, what?
Apparently, all of our DC issues are because the router that you gave us is outdated.
The router.
Yeah. Netgear told us that the firmware is probably corrupted and it'd be $130 to repair it.
Okay, look. Here's the problem. Okay, you're trying to use a router where you should be using a router. Okay, routers.
Well, you gave us the router.
Routers are used to unclog your toilet. Routers are used to help internet communications. You need to know the difference.
So predictable.
Tell us all about your router, Peru.
Anyway, we have a new one coming in the mail by Thursday, so hopefully our DC issues will be a thing of the past.
Yeah, I look, when Juxta was like, "Hey, do you still have that router?" I was like, "Yeah, I have it."
As he starts to fish it out of the trash, he just threw it in.
Well, good. I'm glad that you'll now have your own router and not my hand-me-downs. Let's go to our phone lines. By the way, if you want to call Limit Break Radio, we invite your calls. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We'd love to hear from you all about Palace of the Dead. What do you think? Was this a good addition to FF14? Is the challenge there Do you think that that they could have added even more of a challenge? Do you like the dynamic content? Do you want to see more of this moving forward? We want to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. I know that there were some people that wanted to sound off also about the Stormblood announcement that didn't get to 2 episodes ago. If you'd like to join us and talk about Stormblood, whatever, we'll take your calls. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Kookie will help you get connected to the program. Let's talk to Wyatt Turk, who's been hanging on the line. What's going on, Wyatt?
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Good, man. How are you?
A little sleepy, but I'm doing pretty good.
Thanks for joining us here on Limit Break Radio.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks again for the super cool FanFest party. That was a ton of fun.
Dude, thanks for coming out, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun seeing everybody get totally ripped after the first day.
I would like to apologize that it wasn't so good you don't remember it.
That's true.
Well, I had to walk all the way down the strip back to the Cosmo, so I didn't want to get in trouble.
Fair enough.
In Vegas, buddy?
Yeah. I don't think...
well, to not to get into too much details, but I did kind of have a Skuro moment a few years back, and I don't want to repeat that.
You know what? I had a Skuro moment a couple of years back in Vegas. It's all right. We all have those. You're allowed to have one.
Speaking of which, we don't have to feel bad about Skuro paying all that money for the hospital bill.
Oh, why is that?
Apparently, he had been to Vegas before, spent somewhere around like $2,000 to $3,000, and didn't have enough money to get back home. So this time, he said he had saved up a bunch of money, so he had the money handy to pay that bill.
Oh,
he's just like, I wish I wouldn't have had to spend it. So
wait a minute.
We're good.
Him going and getting so drunk he had to be EMT'd out is not his worst Vegas story?
I guess not.
Yikes. That's pretty bad. I gotta say, that's pretty bad.
Okay, so he's not allowed to go next time.
What was your nearly Skuro moment, Wyatt?
Well, we had gone to the
Strip
Aria.
Oh, okay.
No, we were staying at the Aria. It was the first time I've been to Vegas like 12 times. It was the only time this is the second time I haven't stayed at the Cosmo because I love the Cosmo and I get a bunch of like member discounts there. But we wanted to try something new, right? So we stayed at the Aria. We heard good things, and it was awful. It was terrible.
Oh.
Like the service was really bad. Like, a good example is like at the Cosmo, as soon as you roll up in a taxi or whatever, those people are, snappy right on there asking you what they can do for you. Like their service is like the best in Vegas.
Oh, we didn't get
And then
that.
it's Aria, they're like, we don't really care, like you're here, you're gonna give us money anyways, like fuck off. Like
right, yeah.
That was the
like
level of
everywhere
service.
else on the planet.
So really the lesson is don't try anything new.
Yeah, so so that night we decided to tie one on, and we went to this nightclub, and I just started ordering. I think it was Long Island iced teas or something like that.
Oh,
Or
dangerous!
Or Texas tea or Long Island iced tea. It was like some original concoction they had that was like a play on it, and I just had way too many and just kind of lost track. And then like I woke up in the hospital, and they were like, "Yeah, you got like super drunk, and you like passed out in a hallway."
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
I hope that's what the doctor said to you.
You didn't end up at a children's hospital, did you?
No, it was a normal hospital.
Okay.
But luckily for me, I have the VA covering all of my hospital bills at public hospitals.
There you go.
So
great.
I was just like, all right, I'll get a cab and I'll go back to the hotel and then have like the worst hangover all day.
You didn't quite have the financial impact that Skuro felt.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. That's good. So, well, we're glad that you were able to survive your Skuro moment. That literally is a Skuro moment.
It really was. Yeah.
That's I think doing that is going to forever be known as pulling a Skuro.
Oh yeah. Hashtag classic Skuro.
There you go. So Wyatt, what did you want to talk about today?
So the real reason I called in was I wanted to talk about something that has to do with the game cycle so far, and it's kind of a repeating pattern that is a little disappointing to me. And it's that for the third time in the 3.x cycle, I find myself not really motivated to play the game because there's nothing new to do. And yeah, they came out with Creator, and there's another Anima step, and there's more Palace of the Dead, but it's basically a retread of everything they've put out this cycle.
You're not wrong.
And it's like, so with Gordius, the problem was that it was so difficult that a lot of people lost heart and were just like, I don't feel like doing this anymore, and that caused a lull. And then they came out with Palace of the Dead, and for me, it's kind of a novelty thing. Like, you do it for like the first few days, and you're like, you either really like it or you're just done with it.
How high have you gotten, out of curiosity?
I haven't touched it at all this time. Because like the first time, I was like, this is kind of cool if you like the dungeon crawly kind of procedurally generated stuff, but for me it just gets really boring after about, I don't know, floor 20, and it becomes like a very grindy kind of stuff. And like sometimes we would have people in like a voice chat or something, and we would kind of be fucking around, and it would be fun that way.
Right.
But
let me issue you a small challenge. All right, I would like you to pick out 3 of your friends and just once attempt to make it to 200. You don't actually have to get there, but just get as high as you can, and then call back into a show and let me know if your opinion has changed.
Okay. And if I can convince them to do it.
Well, and here's the thing, like, you talk about stopping after floor 20.
Yeah.
The first 40 floors of Palace of the Dead are boring as shit.
Yeah, they really are.
Like,
that's mostly what it is.
It's 41 and up where Palace of the Dead becomes fun. And, like, especially, I thought floor 100 to 101 to 110 was the most fun I'd had in Palace of the Dead. It's getting better as it gets harder.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really, like 51 to 100 feel a lot like how 41 to 50 felt. It's kind of that, only a little bit tougher. And that's where it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. And then you have the Creator stuff, which is like the complete opposite of Gordius, where they wanted everybody to be able to do it, right? So the difficulty has gone way down. And then you run into the problem where you get like your main job, or like your main 2 jobs or whatever, in that 255 to 260 gear level, and you don't need any other gear at all to complete the final 4 turns of it.
Right.
So you run into this problem where it's like, why do I need to log on every day to do dailies? Why do I need to cap weekly? Why do I need to grind out this new step of the Anima when you don't need any of that eye level? You don't need any of those stats.
And let's also remember that we're on the cusp of the last patch of the expansion,
so
and we're gonna
look forward to is the next little bit of story, which I want to do that. Like, that always interests me.
Right.
And the next 24 man, which will probably be fun. Like, all of the Mach stuff so far has been pretty okay to do. I don't really like having to do it daily or weekly or whatever, but doing it a few times, maybe getting like the set that it drops will be fun. But those 2 things is really all we got to look forward to until the expansion. So
exactly, yeah, and we're going to have a long period of time in between this final patch and the expansion, and and creaky doors. I'm just getting so tired of this argument. Has this guy killed 12 Savage? Now, you know what? That's a stupid question to even ask, because it's irrelevant. Like, the problem is that the path to progression is so fucking linear. Like, that it's basically a binary choice. It's either tome gear and upgrading your tome gear, or it's raiding. Those are the only options that you have. If you want to do some other shit, there's some other shit to do, and there's some reasons to do it. But the thing that was so great about Final Fantasy XI and MMOs of that era is that even when you got to the end of what felt like a linear progression path in leveling, like once you got to the end of that, the world really opened up in terms of things that you could do. And it feels like in FF14 there's just like when you hit cap, there's like less things to do than with other way than
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to stop you
what?
real quick.
I'm let you finish. But
it's just funny because this is something that somebody who hasn't cleared A12 Savage would say. That's all I'm gonna put out there.
It's a stupid argument to put out there.
It
Like,
is,
oh,
yes.
but you haven't done this, so you obviously can't speak. Well, no, of course not, you dummy.
Okay,
yeah, I haven't done that.
Here, I'll
But
say this.
It doesn't. It's not required. I don't need to do it to actually know what you get out of it and the reason to do it. It's just another fucking piece of progression.
The best metaphor that I've heard for the way this progression works is current progression is like, look, you have to pass over this huge pit of snakes and like quicksand and spikes and all this terrible shit to get to the treasure. Or if you wait a couple weeks, they're going to build a bridge around it and you can just walk.
Yeah, kind of. And it really sort of does feel like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Wyatt.
No, it's fine. Like, what I was going to say is that the thing with the whole Alexander story for me is that it's kind of it's not as fun as Coil was. And for me personally, I can't really put my finger on why I don't like it, but I don't feel the same level of fun and enjoyment doing it that I did when we were doing Progression Raid in Coil. And it's just the first week that it's out, you're like, oh, this is new and it's shiny. But then when you start getting into it, it's just like, I don't really even feel like doing this because I don't feel that level of drive and fun and accomplishment that you feel, because it's like, it's either everybody is already done it or everybody is going to do it once they get gear. And a lot of times back in, especially like turn 9 and third Coil, it was like, it didn't matter how much gear you had to know your stuff and you had to be good to be able to do it. So if you were one of those people that was like, yeah, I got it done on the first week, then you felt really accomplished because you knew that people weren't ever going to do it.
Right.
Because of its level of difficulty, and it kind of had a little level of exclusivity, which was also nice. Whereas now it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Because either you're going to do it the first week and you're going to have it on farm because of skill, or you're going to have it on farm 4 or 5 weeks down the line because your stats are so high it won't matter if you mess up mechanics. And so why even do it if you just don't want to do it? Like, it just doesn't make sense to make that an argument.
And the thing is that all it does is just make content easier. It's not a necessary step to get into other pieces of content, or you know what I mean. Like there was this very real phenomenon in MMOs for a long time where you got to a certain point in your gear progression, and then you were like able to do other stuff. And there's a little bit of that here, but as long as you're keeping current with tome gear or keeping current with the expansion, there's no reason to be best in slot other than you can go, oh, look at my numbers, jizz. Like, who fucking cares about that? Who fucking cares about that shit? Like, honestly, the people who sit around and fucking match e-boners with parser scores, like, I would much rather match e-boners with fucking gear. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be that people would show off with gear, and now it's, oh, look at my DPS score, and it's just fucking dumb. Like, that is objectively dumb, and it's not fun, and as an MMO player, it's not something that fucking interests me. At least with gear, I can walk around and walk through town and people go, oh shit, look at that. Like, you can't really do that with a fucking DPS score. You can shout what your DPS score is and look like a fucking asshole if you really want to do that.
And then get banned for parsing.
Yeah, but why? Like, where? At what point did it change? Did the psychology and what drives people to want to do something? Like, when did it change?
It changed when they did away with exclusive gear, because in Coil the gear was your show off, because Coil was like difficult in content, and that, like, the only way to get that was the RNG of it dropping when you completed it.
Right. So
you couldn't just be like, oh, well, I don't even need that gear because, like, scripture gear is best in slaughter. Like, crafted gear, pentamelded is like better than that crap. And it's like, now in Alexander, it's kind of like an eventuality rather than something that you had to like hope and work for.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing with all gear in the game now is it's an eventuality.
Yeah.
I think you made that point a few episodes or whenever ago where it used to be when you would go to Mordona and you'd see people up on that one building like flexing their new coil gear. You'd be like, damn, I really want to like work hard to get that. I want to find a group that can. Or you can
just wait 7 months and get a dyeable version out of a random chest in fucking Palace of the Dead.
Tsan21 asking, what does this guy find fun anyway? And the answer is nothing. A Nero can't feel fun.
That's right. Yeah. No. I felt it once back in 1999, and
what were you doing?
That's the weird
first time you were masturbating.
That's the weird thing. I don't even remember. No. But look, the thing is, and here's why I get so annoyed by this argument is that it's just a way to discredit someone, where they go, like. The problem is that these people actually don't have a point to argue back. Like when you say, hey, if you put better rewards to incentivize more participation in this event and make them more exclusive, they just go, oh yeah, but have you done A12S yet? And
here's the thing.
And that's not, you're not addressing the fucking argument. What you're doing is just discrediting me by asking what I haven't or haven't fucking done.
Which is ridiculous, because guess how many people benefit from more incentives? Everyone. Guess how many people get screwed? No one.
Right.
It is a 100% win-win for them to put more incentive in there.
Right, exactly. But no, these fucking mental midgets don't know the difference between having to actually put forth an argument or a counter-argument to anything. Instead, they just go, oh, well, you haven't met some arbitrary, fucking... high water mark or whatever. I don't know. I lost the word that I know.
A minute there.
You haven't met this arbitrary objective that I've set for you in my head. So therefore, you're not qualified enough to talk about it. And the fact of the matter is that you don't need any qualifications to hold an opinion about this. You don't. You could have a level 4 character and still have an opinion about this, because when you look at the loot pool, it objectively doesn't really give you a whole lot of a reason to want to participate in Palace of the Dead. So, I mean, if you want to sit here and argue, oh, well, I've looked at your lodestone profile and you don't have the right to have an opinion about this, go fuck yourself. You can't argue the merits of what we're talking about, probably because you can't keep up with the discussion. I mean, I don't know, that hentai girl, I could barely even make out the sentence structure of whatever the fuck they were saying. So, I mean, honestly, if you want to try to have an honest conversation, call the show. If you want to try to argue the point, call the show. I'm more than happy to have a discussion about this shit, but when you sit here and go, oh, well, but you haven't done this, okay, yeah, sure, fine. It doesn't change the opinion about it, and you're not arguing against it. So we're not really doing anything. Wyatt, thanks very much for the call. We appreciate it, man.
I'd also like to thank Wyatt for being a Patreon donor now for over a year.
That is awesome. Wyatt, thank you so much for the support. We always appreciate it. We always like hearing from you. And we hope that you can find some motivation here towards the end of 3.0 or maybe even in the 4.0 cycle to stay engaged, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it, guys.
Well, we appreciate hearing from you. If you want to give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Kookie will help you get connected to the program. We would, of course, love to hear from you about anything that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about Deep Dungeon Palace of the Dead, if you want to talk about the Stormblood announcement, if you want to tell drunk stories, if you want to just drunk shame Skuro, really any Skuro shaming is always welcome. Totally justified reason to give this program a call. Again, that's Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, and limitbreakradio.com/Discord. So now, Kyle, you had mentioned that the challenge definitely starts to present itself. Like you start to feel it at floor 1, you said 150?
150 is definitely where it hits the point where like every single floor, every single room, like I feel it. Like
risk of death is everywhere.
One of our big, I think, advantages that we have is that in the earlier floors and really just all over, we try to limit Pomander use to only using it if we found a chest that has one and we're already at cap. Like we're almost always at 3 rage Pomanders. So if we find one, all right, I guess we're raging this floor. And that way you never find yourself in a situation where like you really need a Pomander and you don't fucking have it. I want to always use a safety, which takes away all the traps, or a sight, which shows you all the traps, every single floor. Because I'd say 9 times out of the 10, that's what's going to fuck you up, is just hitting the wrong trap at the wrong fucking time. It is so scary.
Interesting.
Now, Jux and I, on the way down here, we're actually talking about party comp.
Okay.
Right? Because
yeah,
about what you should be taking and what you maybe shouldn't be taking, because there are actually, going into Palace of the Dead, obviously you want to be able to do damage, duh. But since most of what you're fighting are, sort of trash sort of mobs, taking in just the straight up highest DPS outputting jobs isn't necessarily going to be in your best interest.
Yep.
I mean, when was the last time in any kind of content, specifically raiding though, that like a ninja was a must-have? That a ninja could bring something to the table that nobody else could? Palace of the Dead. Being able to hide and walk past site aggro stuff. Let's see, when we did floors 150 to 160, I think we had somewhere around like 5 or 6 minutes to kill the final boss. And usually the way that we do it is spending no more than 5 minutes on a floor. That way you should get to the last boss with like 5 to 10 minutes. And that was with me playing it really safe, because it was the first like hell floor. We didn't really know what to expect. I was afraid that there were fucking traps everywhere, and we were running into some really, really nasty monsters, but the majority of them was site aggro. So from 160 to 170, I threw up height, I went the opposite direction, started popping chests and stuff like that, and we got to that boss with 25 minutes left. That is a huge difference, and it was all because I was there on Ninja.
Right. Interesting. So do you think that that other events can be designed in such a way where party comp matters a little bit more? Because that's a really fascinating thing to me, that, based on some of the less used skills in other in other applications, that when used in Palace of the Dead become kind of clutch. Is that something that you want to see only kept to Palace of the Dead, or is this something that they could bring to the overworld and have success with?
It's a really tricky sort of thing. I think that when something like this shines is when it's not tied directly to damage. Because obviously, I think in most aspects, when you have a job that outshines another one, you end up getting these stigmas like what we had back in FF11, where like the early days, no one wanted a dark because they couldn't hit anything. Or in the later days, all tanks had to have ninja sub. So people start to get excluded from things if you only play one job. So I think that in one hand, it's probably more of a negative thing. But if they can find an interesting way to do it, I mean, when different jobs bring different utilities, obviously that is far, far more meaningful and far more interesting than when everybody can do the same thing. But it's a really hard thing to balance.
I mean, I just wonder if that's something that they can lean into in some of this, battle system redesign that they're working towards in 4.0. I mean, one of the big, I think, criticisms that a lot of jobs, have between each other is like, oh, what's really the difference between a warrior and a dark knight besides their DPS output? You know what I mean? Like, there's not a ton that changes between the roles. So if you are taking, there is positional differences between monk and dragoon and stuff like that, but the differences are fairly minor.
Yes.
And one of the big complaints with, introducing a new job, like, say, a blue mage, and I see this right away with blue mage, is that it's really just going to operate like literally every other job. The only difference is that the way that the cutscenes are going to be presented to be able to unlock those abilities, right?
Yeah.
That's really the only difference. You're not going to have a big shift or a big change or something that's really inventive like you did in FF11. FF11 specifically Blue Mage, where you had to go find a monster that had the ability that you wanted to learn and then not kill it, but face away, wait till it used the ability on you, and then like you had a 15% chance of learning it or some shit like that. That was a very unique way that job operated, and there's no way to be able to bring that to FF14. They're going to streamline that like they have everything else, and it's just going to be the way that the story is presented to you, and you're not going to have to do things like it's gonna feel like an FF14 job and not like the Blue Mage that everyone is begging for.
I think that the way that Ninja ends up playing in Palace of the Dead, I think it's just a happy coincidence. I don't think that they can look at an event and ask themselves, how do we make each job unique? Because then you start building an event around classes, and that's not the right way to do it.
That's also fair.
I think maybe what they could do is looking at Palace of the Dead. If they maybe see some classes that aren't being used as much, maybe they could find a way, especially in 4.0, it's going to be a whole new leveling system. We're going to get new abilities. Maybe what they could start doing is looking at giving more utility abilities to jobs that aren't going to affect DPS, but will affect stuff like traversing through Palace of the Dead.
Right.
Like if a Dragoon got some type of jump move spell that was more like a movement thing, so where they could jump from one end of the room to the other without taking any kind of aggro. That would be cool.
Sure.
I mean, having Shikuki, the Bamf with Ninja, is really awesome, but it's technically just you're moving in a straight line. So even when you Bamf past something with sight or sound, you're still going to aggro it.
Right.
Or if you try and Bamf over a trap, pretty sure you're still going to hit that trap.
Yep.
So it is a nice thing to have to get around faster.
Sure.
But it also has some limitations.
Well, Palace of the Dead is the first event I've done where I've actually taken a moment at the beginning of every run to look at what my party comp is and say, okay, where are we going to be strong? Where are we going to be weak this time around? And I run into that, as a Dragoon, I am terrified of luring traps because my AoE damage is not great.
Everyone should be. At higher floors, it doesn't matter. You don't AoE because they still have
ungodly
amounts of HP.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the problem is that everything that I'm hearing from you guys that is fun about Palace of the Dead is exclusive only to Palace of the Dead.
It is.
It's not something that affects the overworld, or that even in concept you could really even bring to the overworld. And I don't know. I think that's a little bit concerning. It's cool that there's a mode of play that appeals to you and that you like, and that there are some rewards that you can take out of it. But it feels, to me, it feels like there should be more people doing it right now, and that's inherently a limitation of the rewards that they've put in there.
Do you think, that not enough people are doing Palace of the Dead right now?
And
have you seen Quarry Mill?
Yeah.
And but it's only like that because we're 4 or 5 days into patch 3.45.
And what else is there to do?
Yeah, in 6 fucking weeks, it's not going to be like that.
Probably not.
In 7 weeks, it's not going to be like that. And so when you think about long-term viability, it's like Diadem. Nobody thought about the long-term viability. There were people in it for that patch, and when that patch passed, everyone went on to go and to do something else, and it was just the gatherers who stayed in Diadem.
Yeah.
And the thing is I what I would want to see from Square Enix and the development team is just a little bit more forethought. Okay, once this is no longer the thing to do, the current thing to do, how does it still stay viable long term? And I don't see any of those answers here.
But no event can do that right now.
I would like to see traps put into other things. Why can't we have random ads spawning in dungeons, right?
Okay.
I mean, there's no downside to that. You're trying to pull that whole first quarter of Zelphatal because that's just what you do now.
Right.
And once you get near the door, boom, another 3 mobs pop on top of you. You could probably take them, especially the better players, but in some instances, that's going to add that little bit of, or a toting trap. Why wouldn't Beastmen or some of these old places like the Great Google Library, which is, has been chained off and there's all these things in Magic, why wouldn't they be putting down warding spells or traps for you?
Sure.
It makes a lot of sense that stuff like that could also be put into dungeons to add a little bit of spice to them.
They did this at a little bit in Hullbreaker Isle normal mode. They had the random bear traps on the ground leading up to there. And then
those were a nuisance.
No, but he's right though.
Yeah.
He is right.
They experimented with it, and people probably complained.
The placement of them was totally random too. No, that was actually, when I think about that, it is something that they had not repeated anywhere else, and that's a very interesting point. But again, like the styles of play, the things that you guys are complimenting about the system are exclusive only to the system, and they don't really come out of there. You know what I mean?
But it's something they could put elsewhere, because you're doing the exact same thing in Palace of the Dead every single time, okay? And really, it's just the way that they've arranged them. The only difference is going into it, it's not going to be exactly the same layout as it was last time.
Sure.
And that's the problem that people have with raiding or with dungeons, is that mobs are always in the same place. Mobs always use moves in the same exact order. All they have to do is provide a little bit more randomization to it so that you are reacting instead of memorizing.
Here's all of those things were static. They never changed. The placement of the dropping balls and Holly Tolly never changed. And I think that's something that you're talking about, is the dynamics of that.
And we knew SC when they made Palace of the Dead, they said they wanted it to be something very different. So my hope would be that if they get positive feedback on Palace of the Dead, they say, oh, maybe we have something here.
Yes, you do.
Maybe this is what players are into. That's where I would hope we would see this kind of stuff expand eventually out of Palace of the Dead.
The way that you should be working our brains is we should be problem solving in the moment.
Right.
We shouldn't be going and watching videos and memorizing before we go in.
That's fair.
And I think there is something to be said for the way Savage rating works, where there is an element of, all right, let's have the chalkboard session beforehand, make our plans, how are we going to handle this when it happens. But there's also something to be said for the randomly generated problems that you come across in Palace of the Dead.
Yeah. No, that's you guys got some good points there. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Got a lot of mouthy fucking people in the chat today, but not a lot of them want to talk.
Palace of the Dead is just one giant petri dish for testing features they want to implement in the full game.
Mr. Jack, that's an interesting theory, and I hope that that's true. I hope that that's true. But what other concepts could they take out of Palace of the Dead and apply to dungeon structure to make it more interesting? Again, we want to encourage you to call in the show. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Don't let your fingers do all the goddamn talking. Don't sit there and hide behind a Twitch screen name. Don't sit there and hide behind a YouTube comment. Give the show a call. We're live right now, and take your calls to give you a voice.
We'll be gentle.
If there's something that you don't agree with, give us a call. We want to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Again, let's have a conversation about it. Not just these guys don't know what they're talking about. Click. That gets so irritating. Oh, these guys, you didn't do this? Oh, you didn't run Garuda Extreme when it was relevant? Click. It's just a way for people to discredit you and then not listen to what you're saying or argue the point. The point of it is that there could have been much more long-term interest driven in Palace of the Dead by giving even just exclusive visual rewards out of there. And I mean, great, we got a mount, we got stuff for furnishings, but gear is where that's where your bread is buttered as an MMO.
You don't have to call in about Palace of the Dead. You can call in about anything. Hentai Girl, if you want to call in and shame Skrull on air about his bad opinions with Monk, you can do that too.
We'll probably help you with that.
Yeah. I don't think you would get a whole lot of resistance on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, his bodyguard's not here today.
If you if you want to talk about the Stormblood announcement announcement, what you're looking forward to about 4.0, general thoughts about 3.0, whatever it is, you can do that. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
If I could pick,
coward!
if I could pick one thing for them to add or change about Palace of the Dead going forward, I don't think it would be anything mechanic-wise, because right now it's super fun being able to run through it with people on Discord. You know, the cooperation that has to go into it and like the focus. What I would have them add going forward is just more rewards to it. So once people think they're done with it, they have a reason to go back. I mean, I'll probably still do it for tombstones. That first day, Tuesday, when I first did it, I was nearly capped on scripture.
Wow.
Yeah.
It gives 30, once you get to the top floors, it gives 30 scripture per 10 floors, 60 lore, and 30 poetics.
Yeah, it's great for just capping your tomes. If you don't want to do dungeons anymore, good. Go in Palace of the Dead. Have fun.
Dungeons are theoretically still quicker. We did a Zelphatal and a Gooble in under 15 minutes each, but you just have so much more fun in Deep Dungeon.
Well,
interesting.
This game isn't about fun. It's about tombstones per hour.
Yeah, it's about grinding your face into oblivion and nothing else. It can be about nothing else.
Oh,
and cat girls.
The other
It's
thing,
also about cat girls.
The other thing that I like to bitch about. All right, so when you beat floor 50
yeah,
or floor 100, basically each of the 50s, you get a potsherd.
Potsherd.
Now, there's also a very, very low chance that when you open a brown chest, somebody will randomly get a potsherd. From like 50 to 100, 100 to 50, that chance actually goes up quite a bit. We got like over 10 of them the other day.
Wow.
Square Enix, you need to make it so that it drops to people on a rotating basis.
Oh my gosh,
dude!
Okay,
we were going up.
Shut
and
up.
it was like Heart Slot Potsherd, Zemless, Yamalos, Zemless, Heart Slot, Zemless leave. Juxta comes in. Juxta gets one. Juxta gets one. Juxta gets one.
God.
Heart Slot gets one. Where's my fucking potsherd?
You know where all your fucking potsherds are?
Fuck you.
It's from all the time you're loot whoring, doing expert dungeons during...
You
during,
loot
reset
whore
day.
just as much.
That's
I
karma,
tried,
bitch.
but you know what? You got them all, so there you go.
Look, I have the worst luck in MMOs out of anyone ever. I mean, even going back to FF11, I never got the drops that I wanted.
Well, that's your fault for being a Dark Knight.
It's not. Because what I realized is that all of my luck was reserved for Pokemon. I was playing the wrong game, okay? So it's not your fault. It just means that RNGesus hates you.
Yeah, but he has terrible luck with Porygons, too. What's his game?
Oh, no, we don't know yet. We're still trying to find out. It might be Dark Souls. You know what?
I am a Dark Souls prodigy.
Yes, exactly. No.
I'm that guy that beats it with the Guitar Hero guitar.
He just doesn't know it. He refuses to play it, and so he'll never know. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Zidane of Exodus. What's going on, Zidane?
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good. Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
Yeah, it was good seeing you guys live out at FanFest a couple weeks ago. Good, I got to meet, I think, a Nero and Scalia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. Damn.
You have to meet the best people, thank you.
That's right.
I'm going to put my balls in Ascalia's head real quick.
I couldn't find you.
But
unfortunately, I couldn't go to the party.
Go away.
No, we wish that you could have come out to the party as well. It was definitely hopping, but yeah, we're glad that you found us. Oh, go on.
Oh yeah. So I was calling about like 2 weeks ago, I think it was. You guys were talking about Zelphatol and how you were bummed that that was probably all of Zelphatol we were going to see.
Yeah.
And I actually, not to stoke the speculation fires anymore, but I had seen an interview about a month ago where Yoshi P actually was saying specifically that was, he said it was going to be a huge field, but we were just going into the main base, and so we weren't seeing the whole region. So I wanted to...
Interesting.
How did we miss that?
Yeah, I don't know that I saw that interview at all. That's really interesting because, and I'm going to go back to citing the naming conventions, because when we went to Corthus, when we were basically all we had was Dragonhead, we were in Corthus Central Highlands, which meant, a lot of people thought, we'll never see another section of Corthus, that, it's done. But in my head, I was like, yeah, because it's named like that and not just called Korthus, we'll probably end up seeing another section of it. And with Zephitol, what we have is, we've got, just an area named Zephitol and not some kind of like sub-name. And that's... Yeah, and that's the thing that makes me a little bit concerned.
What we don't know is there may be a region it's just not called Zelfatol. Like Zelfatol is the overarching region, but the sub areas in it may have different names.
Maybe.
Right. Kind of like Albathia's spine has like, it's the overall region, but then Sea of Clouds is within the Albathia's spine region.
Right. Yeah. No. And that's the thing is that, and that's what made me think that whole section of the map was fair game, was because Abalathia's spine, we don't actually go to the mountain range. We're mostly above it, and so we don't really actually have that much context for what's beneath those clouds. And so that could definitely be an area that we end up seeing. Although it would be weird to get an area like Abalathia's spine and then not get Zelfatol, because you would think that would need to connect somewhere. But interesting. Again, I'm not sure how we ended up missing that interview. But if you've got a source on that, I know that we would love to sit down and take a look at that. But very interesting, and interested to see what ends up becoming of Zelfatol. So thanks for calling, Zidane. You got any shout outs before we let you go?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks, Zidane of Exodus, for calling Limit Break Radio. If you want to call the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. I think I would be very disappointed, and I said this on, the last show, but I think I would be very disappointed if that's all we ended up seeing of that area of the map. If we just wrote off Zelfatol as this, mountainy region, that's not really worth going to. I think mountain regions in MMOs and video games can be enormously interesting places, so long as you're limiting flying. Like the first time through a mountainy zone, to me, seems like there's a lot of really interesting, opportunities for some very fascinating zone design.
Ifrit's Cauldron and Ottawa Chasm.
Ottawa Chasm is one that I was thinking of just because of the mountain climb that exists there, that you had to do in FF11.
All the miasma walls.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Great zones. I can't wait to go back to Ifrit's Cauldron.
But like the
Makes
way
me have water clusters.
the way that they did what do you call them, the aether currents, like you can have a very interesting tour of the zone before getting your flying access. And I think that a zone that is a little bit more dangerous, that's tough to navigate, where getting all the aether currents is like, damn, like that's kind of a big deal. That would be nice to see. It wasn't even like that in Azys Lla. You got a nice tour of Azys Lla when you got those aether currents, but again, it was like a foregone conclusion. It wasn't like an earned
storyline in Azys Lla. You actually had a pretty safe route through there, and then you
That's
never really
true.
go back.
Yeah, that is true.
Refresh Azure saying we need more caves. No one does caves in MMOs anymore. Yeah, amen to that.
That's true. Caves have kind of gone by the wayside.
I would like another Movalopolis. That's what I want.
Well, how often do you guys go into the back of the
Ogamaro?
Yeah, Ogamaro, yeah. And go, wow, this is really well designed. Never. I don't think I've ever said that. The thing is that, you can do tunnels. You can do an enclosed area well, and it's been done before.
Movalopolis.
But they need to, but they can't just be a series of interconnected interconnected tubes. Basically, you need way bigger set pieces than that to be able to give a sense of space.
Yes, Bad Baller, they did make Aether Currents easy now, but that's only current Aether Currents, and this is in 2/3 of the way through an expansion. That's fine. What I would like them to do going into 4.0, and I think I mentioned this on our last show we talked about WoW, was hold off on flying. Flying doesn't need to be available as soon as you hit 60.
Yeah.
Right? Turn it into a little achievement or something that you do every few patches, and eventually you get flying. Make us walk around. Put luring traps out in the real world.
You know what? Way back when we were talking in 2.55, when we were talking about flying, I said I'm not looking forward to flying, and guess what? I'm still not looking forward to flying, but the cat's out of the bag now. We're going to have flying from every expansion forward.
Yeah, it does seem like that. Do you guys think that they'll ever add something like swimming, or is that just a stupid addition?
Please don't.
Every time anyone suggests that, I'm like, why do you want it?
Name one time underwater combat or swimming was fun and didn't make you nauseous.
Blitzball? It's not even combat, it's a mini game. But I'm just saying.
You were always on just one plane.
And that's what, yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying that's what people would tell you. Anyway, let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Barlick Backbiter of Bernhilder. That's some good alliteration there. What's going on, Barlick?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio. What's up?
Hey, just wanted to talk about one of your last callers was talking about raiding and how you can't get motivated.
Sure.
This patch.
Yeah.
I kind of think that this is the best patch to actually raid in this game.
Okay.
I did the first 2 tiers. I only got the first and second floor of each one, and the raid teams broke up, and it was just a total shit show.
Sure.
But I mean, when you look at this raid tier, you're guaranteed to have the best gear from you don't have to worry about it until the next patch comes out.
Right.
Well, that's usually how it is, though. You never have to worry about it till the next patch. And honestly, that's our biggest complaint is that why go through the hassle of smashing your face against these raids over and over and over again and contending with RNG when you could just wait till the next patch?
Well, I think what he means is, isn't this time you're not going to have to worry about your gear being outclassed until the next expansion, right?
Yeah, but again, it was like that in the transition between 2 and 3.0. But when we saw 3.0 come out, I mean, I was replacing gear by 54?
55, yeah.
54? Yeah. And to me, okay, if I'm going to do all of that work, if I'm going to do all of that legwork, especially at the end of a patch, I should not be looking to replace gear for at least till at least 4.1 or when the next rating cycle comes out.
Okay, no, I'm going to disagree. But I'm going to disagree with you.
What I mean? To me, that would feel like a justified investment for my time.
Sure.
What my point is that unless I really love the design, unless I really feel like I need that design to bring, my fucking glamour together, or to bring my set together, or I really feel like I need that one specific piece, you know what? The fucking stats don't fucking matter to me.
Here's the problem too. Berthoff, is that right? Is that who we ever Barlock. Okay, so you get 270 right now out of the raids, and you're right. This is the last Savage raid until the next expansion. All right, but Scripture gear is 260. When 2.4 drops, guess what? My Scripture gear is 270.
Right, exactly.
And so why do Savage? Unless you actually enjoy just the act of Savage alone, which I get, and that's great. Master Something Wong's going on in this about, blah, 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 blah. It's, it's not fun, what do you want, blah, 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 blah. For some of us, smashing our face against the keyboard 3 nights a week to do something that's the same pattern over and over and over again isn't fun. And before you say, well, you haven't done it, guess what? Every single Extreme Primal is the same thing as Savage.
Right. And I think that the point that, again, we've been making is that it's not even the structure of the content that's the problem. It's knowing what you're going to get out of it for the work that you're putting in. And again, I really feel like all it would take is just one very difficult piece of gear that someone has a chance at getting out of there. You know what I mean? Like just that if people have, been shitting all over us. Have you done 12 Savage? Well, if there was a 1% chance that these amazing hands would drop out of it, maybe I would want to, but no, it's, the gear that's coming out of there. The what's exciting about the loot pool other than it dropped for the job that I want it on? It's a it's like a predestined reward. It's not. It takes a lot of the excitement or the drive out of it for a lot of people if there's not an added reward like that. Plus, you've also got the real problem where people will go and get the gear that they want out of it, you get 2 of them every single time, and you know, like once they get what they want, there's no reason to go back. And that's a big problem for me when it comes to long-term goals, like long-term reasons to get invested in knowing these fights. Because you get someone who invests themselves in knowing the fight so well, and then, you know, they get what they want, and there's literally no reason to ever do it again, you know? And that fucking sucks.
I mean, for us, for my raid group, one of the big things is once we actually get through all the raids, every single one of us mostly has most of our classes at 60. So we can gear out all our classes. We don't have to worry about doing scripture for any of them. We don't have to worry about doing any of the raids for any of them. I mean, and for us,
it gives you a pass for not logging on for 6 months. I mean, really, that's sort of like what we're talking about here.
I mean, not entirely. I mean, the loot system itself, though, I mean, that's one big thing it's fun for us, because, like, this week, our Dragoon, who I fucking hate with a passion that rivals anything in the world, got his belt.
Be nice to Ascalia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he has everything. He's all set on A9.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's fun, because, you know, he got everything.
Right.
But now, you know, he's going to keep going with us while we keep doing the rest of the raids.
Right. But it's not like he's not going to, you know, get anything out of A10 or 12. You know, like, there's still a reason for him to be there. But, like, once that's done, you know what I mean? Like, once you've gone all the way through the entirety of the raid, you've got all of the pieces, you've spent so much time learning all of these fights, like, why keep even logging in?
But that's a concern in every MMO, and it's a concern no matter what the reward is come out rating. If there's a story attached to it, if there is a really low % chance drop item in there, once you have it or once you've seen the story, why keep doing it?
Yeah, exactly. Once you have it, but the thing is that if you made the output of it so unbelievably low that there's 4 instances of the item at all on the entire server 6 weeks out from doing the event, that means something.
But here's what people are going to say. There's nothing in the game that requires me to have that item. Fuck it.
That's true.
But it looks awesome.
That's true.
It's shiny.
That is something that definitely sucks.
You know,
there's nothing that really requires to be all decked out in 270.
This is the first time I've ever done raiding, and I think it's a lot of fun.
I mean, how many times would you, like, if you had that baller ass gear in other MMOs, and I can't speak from experiences because I don't know what this is like, but when you had that baller ass gear, dude, a lot of people would just stand around and AFK. They'd be a presence on the game. They'd be plugged into their link shell or their whatever, you know, their social community for the game, but, you know, they wouldn't necessarily be an active part of a static. They'd be like a fill-in, you know? Like, dude, there were a lot of people in our old link shell that were like that.
Excuse me, I was like that during salvage.
Salvage,
Fuck
exactly.
Yeah. And when I got that first piece of salvage gear, and like you're just sitting there, like you turn it, and it's like, all right, now you have to wait till Conquest reset to get it. You're like, oh, you motherfucker, give me that piece right now.
I think just the sheer fact that we're sitting around talking about glory gear and people are like, yeah, but what's the real point of glory gear, shows how far removed we are from having glory gear in this game. It's sad. People don't remember how awesome it was to get that piece and be like, fuck, there's 3 of these on the entire server. I'm gonna stand here and make sure everyone fucking sees this item on me. And oh, by the way, you know, like, you're still logged on, you know, like in fact, I would say that there are people who became more engaged after getting that Uber item because they would want to go and show it the fuck off, you know? Like, I don't think you get any of that in this game. I don't run into as many people who get the majority of their raid gear and then go, fuck, I want to show this shit off. They fucking get it and log out, and they're like, okay, well, when's the next patch? And that, I think, is the real problem. It creates an attitudinal problem in your community.
See, one thing I think they should do is kind of like WoW does. I think they should make it so that, like, Shire gear and Savage gear can be upgraded, and maybe, like, you know, 5 item levels, 10 item levels. But maybe your Shire gear is a little harder to upgrade than your Savage gear. That's something I'd like to say.
Something else that might help, and me as a player where I currently am, I wouldn't like this, but this might actually push me into trying raiding, is if they disparaged the or push the gaps a little bit more. So instead of getting that 270 upgrade in 2.4, we didn't get it till a little bit later. So we're not just waiting like a patch or half a patch. What if we had to wait 2 patches before we could upgrade it?
Right.
Then that might actually push some of us to start raiding more, because otherwise we're going to be 20 item levels behind raiders.
Right. And look, I get Square Enix doesn't want to force people into raiding, and I understand that. But at the same time, like, I feel like there should be an added incentive for the people who do devote all of that time and who do end up getting the rewards that they need very quickly, and then check out. Like, the problem that the 14 rating scene has had is that, you know, people just don't stay plugged into it. Either they end up getting burnt out because the mechanics are too much for them, or their raiding party falls apart, or whatever.
Let me ask this to some of the people who have been giving us all this, you don't raid.
I'm just saying, like, of the people who get it and who really get it, you know, like, once they have their shit, there's not much reason to stick around. You give one, you give even, like, one fucking reason for them to stick around.
And
Just one.
Here's the thing. Over incentivizing it would give you more reasons. So that's the question I want to ask. People like Master something whatever your name is, Hentai Girl, Tonbarian, all of you people that are basically saying that, you know, we're wrong instead of just fine the way it is. If they put more incentives into Savage, will that ruin something for you?
Yeah.
Do you not want more incentive to do it? Like Tonbarian says, he's fine doing it for the challenge with his friends. And that's great.
Good.
That is 100% great.
That's awesome.
But if they add more incentive, you can still do it for the challenge. That doesn't lessen your accomplishment for doing it for the challenge.
And actually, it should increase the body count of people wanting to go in.
Yes.
And that's the biggest problem that this has had.
No downside whatsoever to adding more rewards.
Right.
None.
Yeah. I agree. And I, like, we've been saying this for a long time, that the problem that rating has is not the challenge associated with it. You can adjust that either way all you want. It has been the loot pool for a long time. And that's just, I mean, that's just one thing that you can do among a bunch of different decisions. But that seems to me to be the easiest and the one that plays on the psychology of MMO players the most. I think you would get the biggest return for doing something like adding either exclusive gear or glory gear or whatever it is to, either to rating or Palace of the Dead or whatever we're talking about here. And to me, it just seems like, you have the talent to be able to design those pieces of gear, and then they kind of get wasted being thrown into dungeons as random chest drops. Like a lot of these pieces of gear that come out of dungeons they're very well designed, and a lot of people will run dungeons over and over again to be able to get those glamour pieces. So why not put the glamour pieces in a place that's a little bit more off the beaten path? And you know what? Yeah, like that would definitely make the process of having to get those glamour pieces more frustrating, but you would be throwing more bodies into the pool of potential players for both raiding and Palace of the Dead, or whatever it is, the event that you want to promote this fucking month.
Tonbarian says, I take no issue with more rewards, honestly. I just don't buy people saying the lack of rewards is the reason why they don't raid. And you're right, that's not the single only absolute reason.
No, there's a lot of reasons, but it's not about reasons not to raid. Give me one reason to raid.
Yes.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all. Give me one more reason than, it's just the next tier of gear to raid. Give me a reason beyond that. And give other people a reason. The people who, and I'm really thinking of the people who invest their time in getting this and getting the rewards that they wanted out of it. There should be an added reason why they would want to come back after getting those rewards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as the looks of the gear, at least they had the smarts to actually change, from normal mode to savage raid, how it actually looks.
That was one of the surprising changes that they made. Like, I was actually really surprised when they made that choice, but I agree with you that it's a good choice.
I kind of wish Nika was here because
I do too.
Because what I'd like to ask her, because obviously she's been one of the biggest proponents for raiding. Did she clear A4S Savage? Like, did they actually clear it after the fact? Did they clear A8 Savage after the fact?
I asked her about this before. I don't think that they did.
Why?
No reason
You should be able to now. So if completing it and finishing it or whatever is your incentive, why wouldn't you? I know why. Because once the new one comes out, the gear's already outclassed. Why would they go back and do A8 Savage when the gear that they're getting from the Shire gear is better?
Well, because and I mean, still at this point, A8 Savage is quite challenging.
Yes. So that's the reason why. There's another glaringly inherent problem. At least in World of Warcraft, the previous raids still give you stuff that you can use in the next raids. For us, it is 100% irrelevant to do it. There's no reason.
Dead content.
100% dead content the second a new patch comes out.
That's a good point.
I think the only reason you'd go back is if you wanted the mount or the minion.
Or glamours. Yeah. But at that point, if it's just for glamours, just do what I'm doing. You wait till the next expansion comes out, you go and you solo it.
If you're just doing it for glamours, you're not wasting your raid night going to do that. You only have a few raid nights a week. You're focusing on the new content.
Yeah. And that I understand too. And it does seem like a missed opportunity on Square Enix's part to engage their community a little bit more or to push them. I feel like, the Square Enix got pushback on the first 4 floors of Alexander, and, make no mistake, they were not very well designed. They were pretty frustrating, but I just feel like ever since then, it's made them doubt all of their rating decisions, and that the next couple of tiers that we got were just indicative of we've got to turn it around. We've got to turn it around instead of having a concept and sticking to it. And I see it in small concessions. I see it in very small concessions and changes between the 2.0 the 2.0 and the 3.0 rating structure, where you had to clear the previous turns before you could advance. Like small concessions like that, I think are very indicative of how fearful Square Enix has been to lose their rating community. And I think that those sorts of moves are bigger mistakes. Like you're actually making those choices way worse, and I think that you're going to end up maybe you'll gain people back in the short term, but in the long term it's really not going to keep people there.
If you try and go back, especially going into 4.0, I mean, maybe there's a way to do it, but if they're not careful and they try to go back to a more challenging way, then they run the risk of losing all of those ranks that they've just bolstered up by making content easier.
Yeah, they really have backed themselves into a very difficult corner here.
Well, going back to where they were coming out of Gordius, at that point, if they had said, no, you have to clear A4S before you can go into A5S, I think they're saying goodbye to rating for this whole expansion. I don't think people would do it.
People would have lost their shit.
Yeah,
for sure.
They didn't have an option with Midas. They had to do it the way they did.
Unfortunately.
Unless they wanted to say, we're just writing off rating for this expansion.
Yeah. No, yeah. I get it. I totally get it. And I understand that some of those decisions were... they were justified, right? Like, I understand Square Enix making a lot of those decisions. However, I think that, the decisions they need to be making need to be for the long term at this point, as opposed to what can we do, to stem the bleeding for the next 6 months till we get to the next expansion or the next patch or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so much of that has been reactionary instead of proactive or following a vision. And I think that's really what I want the most. Is I want, if I felt like this rating, this tier of rating or this portion of rating had a vision behind it that Square Enix really stuck to, I think that would be way more defensible. Instead, what we've had is like, we want to make this harder. Let's push up the DPS numbers that are required to advance, and then waffle on everything else that follows. it sends a bad signal to me. Like it says to me that the development staff had a really clear idea of what they wanted for 3.0, but not as clear of a vision for 2.0, but not as clear of a vision for 3.0. And I hope that they've gone back to the drawing board and rethought a lot of these decisions moving forward to 4.0.
It certainly seems like they have. The way they talked about rating at FanFest, everything seemed very much up in the air still. I didn't get the sense that they have a lot of real, like, everything's planned out yet.
Yeah.
So let me
get 4.0. Didn't I'm not 100% sure if they actually confirmed this or not, but didn't they say they were going to have Savage come out first and then the normal mode would come out the next patch?
I think
that'd be a big enough incentive for you to raid.
I think they should do that. That would be at least a step in the right direction. Yeah, I might actually at least attempt at that point, because that would be like the meat of the patch. And if I don't, then what else am I going to be doing?
You don't think you're just going to wait like you're waiting now for the patch? You
I
wait
might.
4 weeks?
No, I might, but maybe not. I don't know.
I think that's what most people will do. They'll just wait.
I think so too.
That's what I would do.
And that sucks for the raiding community. That really does suck. That most people are more. I mean, it sucks that it's more people are more inclined to I'll just wait it out. I mean, I know they need to find a way to fix it, but that's probably the biggest issue.
I
There's
think
just
that
not
you
a
would
big
at
enough
least
incentive, I guess.
I think you would at least get people who haven't been attempting it to attempt it, because what else do they have to do at that point?
Yeah.
I mean, it might only be once or twice, and then they get discouraged. They go, fuck it, I'll wait.
Right.
But it's at least an attempt, and there's an extra little reward for raiders. You guys get the content 4 weeks before anybody else does.
Well, that's been part of what led me to try and do raiding this time around. If I don't, the fuck am I going to do until June?
Yeah.
Deep Dungeon!
It turns out Deep Dungeon's good, but like I've enjoyed raiding so far.
That's fun. I'm glad for that.
I heard
No,
that
you're
at
not.
floor 200, Wyvern Pet.
There's not.
Look,
there's no boss, and that's the end.
But has anyone soloed as a Dragoon there?
Maybe if you solo as a Dragoon and you sit down on the bench,
there you
Wyvern
go.
comes flying down.
Yeah,
there
maybe.
you go.
And it knows what your account is, and it's your Wyvern from 11 with the same name.
It is Palace of the Dead, so where else are you going to find your Wyvern? Because it fucking died.
So, look, I've said this for a while, and even going back to the first tier, back when we had the very first tier of Alexander, is that if they added a third set of gear, you've got your scripture gear, or your tome gear rather, you've got your raiding gear, but then if they added a third set of gear that was at the eye level that we're working towards, which I would assume is 300 for this one, right? Like if you had just a very low drop rate access to an i300 piece back when everyone was rocking 210s and 220s, that would be a big deal. But it would not be a big deal beyond 3.0, right? Like it's not a game-breaking piece of gear. It's got usefulness, but it's also got a built-in
lifespan.
Yes, it's got a built-in lifespan. Thank you. That's a very good word. That to me seems like a really good way of keeping people plugged in beyond what they would normally tap out.
And it works.
It works every time.
They did it in World of War. We were at FanFest. I gave my
Every
account
time.
to a friend to log in and do my little daily thingies for my chance at legendary items.
See, but they made it a little bit. They
did. That was more accessible.
Yes,
but if it worked on a wide scale, why wouldn't it work just in raiding?
Exactly. See, like WoW did it wrong, where it was like a door prize that you got, right? Like, and a little bit. Wondrous Tales is a little bit like that too. And not having that gear be 100% competitive with the other tiers of gear, that's a good idea. It's like the way that they did Wondrous Tales, very, very smart. But imagine if you had you had that way to fast forward and get that i300 piece back when everyone's rocking 210s, 220s. That is, that first of all, it would be a gear set that's locked to having to grind that old content, or maybe you give them a fast forward button when you get to the end of 3.0. But it's if you want the glamour for that, that's a lot of legwork. If you just want the gear, it's a lot of fucking legwork. And going back on it once it's complete, it's still a lot of goddamn legwork. But people will do that kind of legwork for stuff that they want on their character. I mean, we see it all the time with cosmetic stuff like mounts. We see it all the time with with furnishings and stuff like that. People will really go out of their way, and the fact that kind of legwork isn't included for anything that we can really wear, right? Like, there's no piece of gear that's like that, where it takes so much time and effort, where you see someone in it and you're like, fuck me, that's impressive. Like that needs to be a part of this game. It's something that has been a central part of MMOs, going all the way back to your very, very first wave of MMOs, and it's a important psychological aspect to have for your community. All right.
I mean, as far as the gear though, I mean, like, I think seeing someone in 270 is a pretty big deal at this point.
I mean, yeah, it is.
I mean, I went into a trial this morning, and I had the other tank had all his 270 accessories. I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a really easy thing. Like, we're going to get this done real quick.
Sure.
And if I saw someone in full 270 in Idle Shower, I'd be like, oh shit, that guy's a fucking badass.
Yeah, you're like, oh dude, that's awesome. But in 4 weeks, I'm going to be right where that guy is. Like, that's sort of my thinking. Like, I want to have the reaction where, where you're seeing 270 and you're like, wow, that's pretty fucking impressive. You still have that reaction to 270s, but then you check the guy next to him and you're like, what the fuck? He's rocking full 300s? What the shit is happening? Like, that's the kind of reaction that I want to have to other players that I've never had through the entirety of this game.
Please look forward to it. That's incorrect. He says they can't add extremely high-level item-level gear that is RNG dependent, or it will kill the world first competition.
Bullshit.
How?
Bullshit.
First of all, they all have access to it. And World First usually happens within like the first 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about stuff that is so fucking rare that in a patch cycle per server, you might only see 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You're not going to see those within the first week or so, and maybe you will, okay? But guess what? Everyone has the same equal chance, and I guarantee you that every single one of those World First people are now going to be playing the game beyond World First.
Now, I think that actually begs a larger question: is, should Square Enix be developing for, their entire community, or should they be developing content specifically with 16 fucking people in mind?
Well, one of the things that you mentioned way back when you first came up with this theory is that this item should also be marketable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because then that way, even people that don't raid are lusting after it.
Yes. Exactly.
May have the potential to buy it off the auction house, and even after you outfit your raid with it, you could still sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Barlock, thank you very much for the call. We appreciate it here on Limit Break Radio. We'd love to hear from you if you want to call into the program. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. I'm going to go back to the phone lines here in just a second. But again, this is something that we've been talking about for a really long time.
Forever.
And it's just a simple, all I'm doing is trying to think of very simple ways that Square Enix can add something to the game that will just make me, that makes you stop and go, oh,
and
look at that.
And that isn't complicated. Stuff
Right.
where they don't have to go, maybe in 4.0, 5.0, we don't have the technology yet.
You're right.
You absolutely do.
Right, yeah. And the thing, I'm seeing a lot, make the glory gear usable outside of, it's going to impact the world first scene. You know what? I honestly can't say that I really give a shit about the world first scene.
Plus,
because that's again, it's max, less than 100 fucking people that are participating in that. And once it's done, it's done.
Here's the other thing, too. I think one of the original caveats to this was that this super rare piece of gear only drops off at the final boss.
Yeah.
So you've already gotten your world first, and it's
there you
one
go.
piece of gear.
Yeah, you can't.
That's not going to influence the world first.
They mean for the next tier.
Okay, but you have the way that patches fall. You have 2 patch cycles. You have plenty of time to farm them for yourself as well.
For the next patch cycle, again, who gives a shit? Honestly, should we really be catering to world first play at this point. It's such a minimal part of this community. And again, like, it's a big deal for 2 days when it happens, and then everyone's already on to the next thing. It doesn't actually fucking matter. When that's less than 100 people that you're actually affecting their gameplay, why would it matter? Why would it be such a big deal at that point? Oh, God forbid that we impact the world firsters. Fuck the world firsters.
Nero, please look forward to it. Brings up another point. What about when you come to those people who are like, looking for a blah, blah, blah player, must have this piece of gear?
Good. Bring that back. I'm all for that.
I think that this would be rare enough. You wouldn't be able to do that. If you find one, great. Everybody's going to fucking want you.
Yeah.
But if it's rare enough, then if you're asking for that person, you're never going to find it.
You're actually doing you a favor by asking for that need 300 item level, because not to go with them, because they want to be carried.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
There you go.
You shouldn't be going with people like that anyhow.
Why the fuck do we need to cater development to less than 100 people? Fuck the world firsters. Fuck them. If it's leading to bad loot design, why continue to cater to these fucktards?
Because when you cater to the larger audience, you get Verminion Lords.
That was catering to no audience. There's no audience there to cater to.
You guys,
they were trying to cater to Juxta.
If you guys haven't cleared Lords of Verminion, then you're not qualified to talk about anything in this game.
See, exactly. That's how stupid that whole justification is.
And you know what? Lords of Verminion is so easy that anyone can do it. So if you haven't cleared it, then you're even more of a casual.
That's right.
You know what? I like Smokey Moongoon's idea. They should give this weapon to random active player on the server, just like a sword in the stone kind of thing. Every day it just shuffles, and you have to go up and try and pull this piece of gear out.
They kind of did that. They kind in the very ending weeks of 1.0, you could check under your bed in your inn.
Get the fuck out of here!
And there would be they would give you a free relic.
Okay, what? This is the last day.
It was the last couple of weeks.
And it gave to everybody.
What's the lore reason for there being a relic under your fucking bed?
The world is ending. Who gives a shit?
So Louis Suarez going around chucking relics under people's beds?
I don't think Heidelin's blessing is bestowed upon you.
God. I don't think it was Louis Suarez that handed out the original relics.
I'm just saying,
I may be wrong about that.
He's the closest Santa Claus equivalent. He's running around with a bunch of chocobos and a fucking sled.
Bert.
It had something to do with dreams. Anyway, you had to get a dream cutscene.
That is so fucking stupid.
From 1.0 to 2.0.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is that it did. The
idea is fine, but the fact that you have to check under your bed for it, fuck you.
The server data had already been backed up, so anyone who got it didn't get to carry it over to 2.0. But anyway,
oh, you didn't?
No. No. It was basically to just use in the end 1.0.
Wow.
It was fun. It was sort of hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's an easy thing for Square Enix to do, and it just seems to be a big hole in their psychology for what motivates players. Again, when you're talking about world firsters, you're talking about a very, very, very small subset of the population.
All right. Please look forward to it. It says, this is FF14 wants cater to casuals by putting everyone in the same field and at the beginning of a new raid patch. I'm not saying it's right, but it's their mentality. And you know what?
It's fucking stupid.
No. See, look. We're actually on the same page. Please look forward to it, Radio. We agree. We know that's what they're doing, and we don't want them to do it.
It's a bad idea.
It is.
It's a bad idea because it really hurts motivation for the rest of the 98% of your game.
So that's what we're saying is keep the stuff difficult. And in order to get people into it, give them a reason to do it. Don't make it easier. And give them a reason.
And give people a reason who've already done it, and been doing it to stay doing it. Yes.
Yes, the idea is that you want to keep logging on. You want to keep doing it. Even after you've cleared it, you want them to keep coming back.
Right. You want to do away with the mentality of, oh, I'm done with this. I got the piece of gear that I wanted. I can move on. I'm now best in slot. I can move on. Because if you really want to work towards best in slot, you got to really go for the grindy piece. And it's like, that is a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication. But it also keeps talent, and it keeps people who have the context for that fight engaged in that fight so that they're continuing to teach other people in the community community, or other people are getting the opportunity to learn. Because of course there are going to be people who get best in slot and they're like, I'm done anyway. But there are those OCD people who are like, yeah, but that's not really best in slot because I don't have those 300 hands, that will dedicate that extra time and will dedicate that extra effort into getting those pieces. And the fact of the matter is, those are your talented players. Those are the people who are teaching other players how to keep doing these very difficult events. And if we want to start our community getting better, part of it starts with you and saying like, I have to be willing to get better. But if your talent is constantly being bled from the top end because there's nothing that keeps them there, then that's also extremely problematic. That's the other part of raiding that gets me very discouraged very quickly. Is I end up, if I go into a raid static or a raid group, there's no sense of leadership. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like all of us are kind of on the same level, and that's where you get a lot of conflict, right? Like, as stupid as this sounds, remember how someone decked out in all huge e-penis gear would walk in and everyone would suddenly start listening to every single thing that they had to say, whether that was for the benefit or not to the group. Like that, that could go either way. But like that was a very real thing.
The closest thing you get to this now is if you go into like Alexander, easy mode or into a dungeon, and you have someone who's decked out in like all 270 gear,
and they have a mentor status.
They're gonna get all the comms at the end. That's it.
Oh,
unless they're dicks, then they're not.
I'm just saying, like, there's no reason to design the entirety of your end game around 100 people who are going to be done with it in 2 weeks and then not bother to log on for the rest of the 3 months that everyone else is waiting. What's the point of that?
Grok Linux says you're trying to create 6 months of just raiding and ignore all the other content. No.
No.
What?
What are you fucking talking? This is something that they could add with minimal effort immediately. They wouldn't have to change the structure of anything else in any of their content patches. And
this doesn't mean they then can go, all right, we don't have to make content for 6 months.
Yeah, we don't have to make dungeons now.
This is just a way to give more
what the
life.
Literal fuck are you talking
This is only to give more life to what we already have. Look,
that's right.
Take easy mode Alexander right now. At this point, everybody's probably got all of their gear, so maybe half as many people are doing it now.
Right.
Everything has such small, limited lifespans.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Let's go back to our phone lines, and we're going to talk to Hearist, hanging out on Discord. What's going on, Hearist?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for calling the show, man.
So I wanted to expand on the conversation we're currently having on the loot pools, and I've got a going statement for you guys. I honestly think that the raid tier is so bad. You've got Aquapolis and Palace of the Dead having better loot systems right now.
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying. And that's really a fucking problem.
Is you're asking for exclusives and whatnot, and what's happening is you say Palaces of the Dead is not going to keep its population. Over here on Balmong, it's been keeping its population since they added the Horde in. Same things with things like Aquapolis.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they're doing that, it's not because the actual gear is good or it has good stats or those stats are going to last. It's the fact that they update the pools every time they add more gear.
Yeah.
Right.
We agree. The problem is when you have something like raiding at this late in an expansion, how do you go and flip the reward system on its head?
Right,
It's kind of really difficult to do. Now, going into 4.0, they absolutely should just completely revitalize the way that raid loot structure is worked.
Yes.
But our theory, or Nero's idea here, is that this is something that could so very easily be added.
And it takes literally zero more development initiative from that. Like Square Enix doesn't even have to try. They just have to design another piece of gear and not make that visually available anywhere else. Like those are
also don't make it look like puke.
And then put good stats on it. Like those are three very basic things that they can do, which we know that Square Enix is competent enough to be able to do. That they just choose not to. And I mean it's a valid choice, but it's not a good one. I'm just saying, like, it's a very, very easy thing that they would that they could add to their raid structure that would not detract from any attention that they would have to put anywhere else. And I think that that's an important thing. Is like, you throw it out there, hey, well, what could they do to make raiding better? Well, they could add dynamics to the fight, or they could just be different fights altogether, or they could add more trash, or they could add more of a level. Those are those from a development standpoint take a lot of fucking time. They always take. You want to change the level design? Takes a lot of time. Changing up the loot pool, the loot structure, adding an additional slot for loot, that's not that hard in terms of a development point of view.
Right, and they can also do things where they actually upgrade the gear in and of itself. Say you take the structure that they're doing for the 24-mans right now.
Right.
You got the Maki pennies, you got the Maki farthings, and you got to gather them together for upgrades. So why not add that to raiding, where you go back to the older raids, grab pieces so you can upgrade your raid gear?
Unless the raid gear has an updated visual design, because I think being allowed to dye the gear is a cop-out. It needs to be its own gear set so that when people see it, they can identify visually like, oh, shit.
And actually, the way that they've done Alexander is the Alexander Savage, technically the same gear, but with more, pretty stuff on it.
Right.
Can't be dyed. If you then wanted to go the upgrade route, that's how you get the dyeable version of that.
Exactly. But what I'm talking about is a gear set like that is just separate unto itself, And I think that that's the important part, because people hear that and they go, "Well, I don't like that idea because there's no way I'd ever get it." Good. Don't fucking get it. Just because you want something or you think it looks pretty doesn't mean that you should have it in your fucking inventory. You've got to figure out now, okay, what do I need to do to be able to get that? If I really want that, what do I got to be able to do? And the answer currently, if you like a piece of gear, most of the time it's like, well, I just queue up in Duty Finder and I do it till I get it. If you had to actually make plans to it was a big deal, you had to compete with other people to get those pieces of gear, that adds a level of importance, that adds a level of psychology onto your game that you really need to play with. Square Enix does a lot to play with our psychologies, but it feels like they could do way more.
Oh yeah,
way more. And that's just one of the ways. And the the excuses that people trot out. Well, it'll undermine the world first thing. Man, that's such a bad excuse.
If that's your excuse, then we're sitting in a pretty good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if that's the only reason you can figure out to not add a piece of glory gear like that, then there really is no reason for them not to do that.
And really, nothing SE has ever said has led me to believe they care that much about their world firsting community.
No, exactly.
They don't.
No, I totally agree. And that's the thing is, like, why should they?
Yeah, why would you?
Why
it's a very
should
small
they?
Group of people.
In any MMO, why should you cater to that play style? Because inevitably you also end up getting the people who, they're sublapses for 3 months out of the year,
Right.
You don't want that as a business. It's just bad business. So those are a lot of my concerns when it comes down to this stuff. And again, this just seems like something that they could fix very easily. Very easily.
Right. And the thing is, not now. It's got to be in 4.0 that this gets fixed.
Yeah.
You can't do it where we're at.
Yeah, you need a clean slate.
Yeah.
You need a clean slate. And I think that's why I want to talk about it so much, is because, they've got the opportunity to do it. You're right, that once you get into even the first patch of the expansion, you're already at a point where it's too late.
The model is set.
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be for this expansion. And we came across that kind of dreadful realization around 3.1 when we're like, oh shit, this is what we're locked into.
That's all that this is.
And we've known since then.
God
now
damn it.
We're just sitting here praying like, listen, we got a long way to go to June.
Yeah.
Unless 3.5 is amazing, it's like these shows like around mid-March.
Don't start saying that
late
now.
April, it's going to get a little rough.
7 more weeks.
Fuck you. I have plans.
I'm glad you do. We're going to need them.
We are going to flay Ascalia on air.
When June gets here, things need to be different. We need a better structure in 4.0.
Like Cat of Nine Tails type stuff.
The chess player?
No.
What?
Bobby Flay?
We're going to torture Ascalia on air for entertainment. That's my plan.
Sexually?
Oh, speaking of
you doing
rewards,
it?
I have it on good knowledge that when you hit that floor 400, on top of that flaming eye and that glass pumpkin, they've got a Wolverine skull there. We don't know where it's from.
Huh.
Man, that was original.
Don't worry, it still hurts him deep
Wait
down.
a minute. Oh, I get it. I was a Dragoon in 11.
That's the joke.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was a great joke. Never mind. My mistake. I just missed it. I missed that one. My bad.
You're still a Dragoon, even in 14, in case you forgot.
I'm a Lancer.
Thanks for the call, Harris. Thanks for the call, Harris. We appreciate it.
Oh, is that Harris?
That
Hey,
was
what's
Harris.
up, buddy?
Yeah. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715. LimitBreakRadio.com/Discord.
Papa, I need you.
We appreciate all your calls today. It's been some.
I'm really proud of our callers today that called in to like attack us on our points.
Yeah, to call us
defend our
out.
point.
I would like to point out that all the people that were being openly hostile with us at first now seem totally cool in chat.
Oh, there you go.
Like Hentai Girl, Tom Baron we've had for a long time. Master Something, like, you guys are cool.
You guys are good.
Like, see? We can be friends. We can talk things out.
Can call the show and we can work that out.
Even though we're scrubs who've never done A12S.
That's right.
We don't know too much.
And it makes for good on-air product. How about that, man?
Spoilers for farming you.
All right, so this past weekend, I had the pleasure of going out to San Antonio for the Alamo City Comic-Con. I want to send a huge shout-out and thank you to Apple, the organizer of Alamo City. I went out there as his guest, and I didn't really know what to expect. And I was treated to...
Show us on the dial where they touched you.
I was treated to hospitality like I've never received before. So thank you to everyone at the Alamo City 2016 crew. You guys were phenomenal. You guys treated us so well. And if you want to hear more about Alamo City Comic-Con and my experience out there, again, we want you to tune in to Final Encountercast. That's coming up at 5 p.m. over at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. We invite you to join us. We're going to be talking to Goku voice actor Sean Schimmel about the SAG-AFTRA strike currently initiated for the video game industry. Now, you guys will remember that a couple of months ago we talked to David Hayter, the voice actor behind Solid Snake, and we found out all about the SAG-AFTRA strike and why it was so important from his point of view. Well, this weekend out at Alamo City Comic-Con, I had the pleasure to be introduced to a man by the name of James Arnold Taylor. Now, you may know that name as the voice of Johnny Test or Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank, but everyone in this chat room knows him as Tidus from Final Fantasy X. Well, he was nice enough to give me a few minutes and give me his opinion and his take on the SAG-AFTRA strike. I am hanging out with James Arnold Taylor, a voice actor. You may know him from such roles as Johnny Test, Fred Flintstone, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and of course, Tidus from Final Fantasy X. Now, we wanted to talk to James a little bit about the SAG-AFTRA strike, which is currently going on. James, what can you tell us about the SAG-AFTRA strike?
Well, it's one of those things where I think in the initial thought, people go, oh, more actors striking, wanting more money. And it's really not so much about that as much as about what the whole concept of video games has become. And it is indeed, on their notes, on the words of the game makers, bigger than the movie industry. And they are a, $23 billion a year industry. And it's not like then, oh, we just want a bunch of that money. It is, okay, the movie industry works it this way. We get paid residuals, which means if a film does well, and we're only talking about a very small minority of the games, if those particular games do well, then a percentage would go back to some of the actors that played in the games. But it's really also, hopefully, a door to open up for all of the other folks that work very hard in these games. There's fantastic artists, game designers, writers, all these people that work so hard. And it would be our hope that they would unionize as we have with the SAG and AFTRA, and to be able to get their share of the success in the games as well. But, it's not one of those things where it's just like people are looking for money. So I think that's the biggest thing people need to remember.
Well, and when we spoke with David Hayter about 6 months ago, one of the things that he said was that, one of the things that he really wanted to make sure was clear is that it's not just a request for residuals. It's a request for residuals after a certain profit margin, which is, I think, a really important distinction to make, because a lot of people who do think this is all about just getting more money, I don't think that they really understand what the margins that you guys work on are.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about games that make millions and millions of copies, that sell millions of copies, not just a game that does moderate or whatever, and then we're looking for money on that. And, a game like Final Fantasy, people always assume that I'm kind of sitting on a pile of money from that. I got paid a session fee, which was, SAG scale. Now, granted, we did a lot of sessions, and I'm very grateful. I love working in video games. I'm the voice of Ratchet in the Ratchet and Clank game series. Love the folks at Insomniac. I do all sorts of video games, and I love doing them, and I want to continue to do them. It's only on those games that are, again, those huge hits that make millions and millions of copies sold, where there is a small percentage that just says, okay, we acknowledge your part of this. And that's really what it is, because the rest of our industry, be it television, even the internet, or movies, that's how our contracts work.
That's typically how talent has been compensated in media for a really long time, and it seems to me that you guys are just fighting for the same, really the same treatment. And I think that that's totally fair, especially when you have scenarios like with the most recent Metal Gear Solid game, where you have a major motion picture actor coming in and taking over the role. And I have to wonder, what deal he ended up getting on that too.
Yeah, generally they will pay them a very large sum, and they'll have some sort of agreement with an actor that is of a name. Voice actors, I think a lot of people too, I've been very fortunate, very blessed in my career to work on so many wonderful projects, but most voice actors work a couple jobs a month. It is not something where they are making money hand over fist. They are doing it for the love of the craft of it. That's certainly why I've wanted to do it since I was 4 years old. I've been fortunate to do it as my whole career. But people think, they just make all this money. It's one job at a time. It's usually scale, which is, for a video game, that's $800 some odd. Right. So if you do one game every couple of months, that's not doing much. That's barely paying somebody's rent, maybe, and depending on where they live. And if you live in Los Angeles, that's maybe paying a quarter of your rent. So, yeah. People have to keep it in perspective. There's a lot of wonderfully talented actors out there that are not working all the time. And these games are a great way of doing that. But it's about vocal stress. Yes. The only times I've ever lost my voice are working on video games. I did a Spider-Man game years ago where I played Electro. Completely lost my voice for a week. Wasn't able to do more work after that. So it affects you. So, there's also stunt work and mocap that's being done in these games now, and that's also part of the contract. So it's just fair working environments that we're looking for that are safe. And, I hope that it comes to a conclusion soon. Who knows? You never know. I mean, they've got a lot of money. They got a lot of power. But hopefully people will see that the performance matters. That's been our little hashtag. Yes. And that, games like Ratchet and Clank, Final Fantasy, all of those, Metal Gear, all these games wouldn't be possible without Screen Actors Guild actors. So
you're absolutely right. And one of the things that we're hoping to act as a sounding board is just for this issue. This is a huge issue. It affects, the products that we all love. And I know that at least from our perspective, we totally stand with the voice actors. So we are definitely supporting you guys. James Arnold Taylor, can you tell our audience where to find out more information if they want to find out more about you?
About me? Well, thank you. JamesArnoldTaylor.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JATActor, Jat Actor. I kind of go by Jat. I've got a YouTube channel that tells you all about voiceover, take you behind the scenes of my life as a voice actor. People, please subscribe to James Arnold Taylor's YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun, and you'll learn all sorts about voice acting.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
James Arnold Taylor, voice of Tidus from Final Fantasy X, also Sonic. Let's see.
Hedgehog?
Yes, Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, the fast food chain, you idiot.
I love their food.
As well as Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. He's also been on shows like Pokemon. Let's
You know what's
the
weird to
Powerpuff
me?
Girls,
Fairly
Invader.
Odd Parents?
Yes, the Fairly Odd Parents,
Love that
Invader Zim, Johnny Test, Family Guy, tons of others. Thank you to James Arnold Taylor for a
I've
couple of minutes
noticed
of his
there are two types of voice actors. All right, there are ones like Joe DiMaggio that you hear his voice everywhere. And
John DiMaggio.
Yeah, sorry, John. And it's not
Wow.
well. Joe DiMaggio is a person.
Yes, he is. It's just he's known for a very different set of skills.
Anyway,
Great job, Juxta.
Like, you hear him. Classic Juxta. Whether you're hearing him as Waka or Bender or he's Jake in Adventure Time, right?
Yes.
Whatever. Like you can distinctly hear his voice, no matter who he
Marcus
is.
Phoenix as well, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a big deal. But then when I hear him talk, I just hear Titus.
Yeah,
like
right.
that's it.
Well, and that's the thing is that James Arnold Taylor just kind of used his natural speaking voice for Titus. He just kind of he made it a little bit more squeaky because we got a liner from him as Titus as well, and it's really hard to tell. He just all he does is pitch his voice up just slightly.
Can we listen to it after the show?
Yeah, totally.
Does Sean Schimmel sound just like Goku, or is that clearly a different voice he's doing?
No, Sean Schimmel. As I was listening to it, I was like, oh man, I keep hearing Goku kind of like peek out at me,
Okay,
and it's
so
weird.
It's like when he gets more intense.
It's like almost like when he's not thinking about it. You'll hear it over on Final Encountercast, guys. Join us over on Final Encountercast. We're going to be talking to Sean Schimmel. We got access to a lot of really, really cool people.
They want to hear it.
Out
Too
at
bad.
We don't bow down to terrorists.
at Alamo City this year, and we definitely will be playing the Sean Schimmel interview over there. So again, thank you, huge shout out and thank you to James Arnold Taylor, who was nice enough to give us a couple of minutes for that. Hang on, I'm looking for the
Titus one.
the Titus one, and I actually may not have cut it. Yeah. Darn, I don't think I did.
Do we have something for him?
No. I mean, outside of that interview, you heard that interview. I can't play any of these other bumpers.
No. Like, do you have any lines cut? Any liners?
No, I can't play any of them because they're for our as of yet unnamed publicly show.
That's right. Sorry, guys. we tried.
Yeah, sorry about that. But anyway, yeah. So you're right that there are voice actors, kind of a lot like your H. John Benjamin, who does Bob from Bob's Burgers and Archer.
And you get the same thing with actors too. I mean, every single person that Morgan Freeman.
Nicolas Cage
plays,
or like Denzel Washington, like they're always the same.
Morgan Freeman can't really affect a voice. I've never heard him do a voice, right? Like
he's just Morgan Freeman.
If he did an impression of someone that was really good, and any other voice that came out of his mouth came out, I would be shocked.
Yeah. Then you get the opposite, where you get people like Hugh Laurie, where you're expecting to hear Dr. House, and you don't.
Exactly. Yeah. It can be really weird, but it was really neat getting to hang out with these folks. If you want to hear all of my stories, because I have a bunch of stories that I want to tell, that's over at Final Encountercast at 5. That's twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. And we'll also be talking to Sean Schimmel, the voice of Goku, about the SAG-AFTRA strike. Guys, this is hugely important. The SAG-AFTRA strike is hugely, hugely important, and it's something that we've talked about on FEC before, but we've never had an opportunity to talk about on Limit Break Radio. And as we know, the voice actors, that are that get their work through SAG-AFTRA have initiated a work stoppage against the video game industry. Now, what does that mean exactly? What that means is that games that are not currently in production, they will not be able to use union talent in upcoming projects. So what happens when you don't use union talent? Well, you can't always guarantee that you're going to get quality work. I mean, have you guys heard some of like the Final Fantasy Type 0 voice acting? I mean, I don't know whether those people were union or not, but when you use talent that's not that's not doing this all the time, you're gonna have a bit rockier of a product.
Remember when Tyrion Lannister was the robot voice in Destiny? I remember.
What was that voice?
It does.
That's
it's
my
not.
Cartman.
It's not. What? Why would it be
Cartman?
Why?
No. The worst
Are you?
Cartman.
Are you? You're just not watching South Park, are you?
Guys,
No, he's not
I just confused Morgan Freeman from Mel Gibson. Give me a break. I'm having like a seizure or something. I don't know, an aneurysm.
Do you smell burning toast?
I just assumed that was Juxta.
He does smell like bread.
What?
Bread and ham.
At least say yeast. Jesus.
Anyway.
It's like you guys aren't even funny anymore.
Anyway, yeah, I leave for a week. What happened? What happened?
What happened?
We left the show in the hands of Nika, Ascalia, and Juxta. That's what happened.
Exactly what you would expect happened.
And where were you?
I carried it.
Where were you, Kahlo?
I'm never on the show. Come on.
I know you're not, but the one time you really need to be, you just don't show.
You know what? It was a dumpster fire waiting to happen. I didn't want to be any part of that.
What happened?
Anyway, this is going to be a real big deal, especially in the next year or so. If they end up continuing this work stoppage, you're going to have productions that are using, not tested talent for their final product.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good enough vocal director to compensate, someone who's smart enough to know that line's not going to work, right? Then you're going to have really fucked up end products. And so what this tells me is I guess the video game industry must be very, very, very sure of their vocal directors, which they shouldn't be.
Well, the big problem is they think that voice acting is only 0.1% of the work being done. And let's just pretend that's true,
right?
Okay?
Yeah.
Guess what? What we're seeing and what we're taking in as players, it's a lot more than 0.1%, and bad voice acting can and will kill a game.
It will ruin a game. It will literally ruin a game. It cannot just steal moments. It can ruin the final product. And that is, I think, what we don't want to see. We know that these talents, like Sean Schimmel, like Jennifer Hale, like David Hayter, these are people who are they're pros. They've been doing this since the advent of voice acting for video games. And you really want to tell me that their experience and that their talent doesn't matter? That you could just take somebody who has a pleasing voice and get the same performance out of them? Look, I've got a great voice, okay?
Humble brag.
I do. I've got a great voice. A lot of people like listening to my voice. That doesn't mean I'm a good voice actor.
No. Sure
at all.
He's terrible.
I'm pretty fucking bad. It takes good direction. It takes having, it takes repetition, making mistakes. Vocal consistency.
Make us sound like you're being decapitated. That was so bad.
I don't know.
Escalia, want to try?
No. What sound does a decapitated person make?
I don't know.
Their head's getting cut off.
That's you're asking me.
But this is the kind of stuff they ask them to do.
You set me up for a folly line, not for a fucking. I don't have the ability to make sound effects.
Yeah, that's a sound.
But that's what they asked them to do. Your arm's being broken. You're being tortured because your leg's being ripped off.
Okay, you can make noises with that. When you get decapitated, you lose your head.
Yeah.
Depends on how quickly they're decapitating you. What if they're slowly sawing it off?
That's why mine stopped halfway through the noise.
Oh, it was a fast one?
Well, because my head was being chopped off.
All right.
I wasn't trying to make the noise of being.
I think he has one.
All right, here's a slow one. Hey, dick. That's what it said if it didn't cut you.
Wow. That's terrible.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
This is why it's important to pay people.
Great job, Skuro. I'm impressed.
Oh, you piece of shit.
You know what we should do?
What?
We should just pull up lines for something. Like anything. It could be fucking Glenn Ross, and just try to do it with the four of us in the room.
Oh my
and
God.
Just prove that even people who sit around and talk into microphones for a living, that even then you provide them with the material that you're still going to get a shitty performance. This is why voice actors matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get a good performance out of probably Kahlo, maybe me. But this half of the room, that's where it's going to fall.
Everybody else.
That's where it's going to fall apart.
He's making
we're best at voice acting. Me, Ascalia, and Nika.
Yeah, we got through the whole of FF11 voice acting it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing that what you're going up against is silence.
Yeah.
Hi, this is my Ahura voice. I am talking.
All right, well, I'm not going to throw my lot in with him, but Nika and I did fine.
I'm just saying, there's a lot more than doing a voice. There's inflection.
Yeah.
It's more than just talking to kindergartners, Nika.
Yeah. What?
It's feeling.
Okay. Anyway, so
And believe me, I know all about swallowing.
See?
God damn it.
Quick question on the state of the strike. Did I hear you say right that the only stuff that's affected are contracts that have started or would have started after the strike? If a contract is already in place, does that still stand?
Yes.
Well,
it's after a certain date.
There is a cutoff date that stuff that is currently in production, if it was like I think a certain percentage of the way through that
they would finish.
Yeah, that they would.
I really hope Mass Effect wasn't affected.
Oh, I guarantee you it is.
I
guarantee you it is.
Wasn't affected.
Well, how much development do you think has been done on Mass Effect Andromeda?
12?
No, it's coming out next year. I'd say they're probably further along than we think they are. As far as voice acting, though, the fact that they have that contest going, yeah.
That to me says that's the last step in the process, man. And generally it is. Like
they're going to give all the roles to people who tried out for the contest now.
Great. So we're going to have Nika and Ascalia voicing Andromeda.
It's going to be great.
I mean, to be honest, that's one of the last things, unless you're doing mocap on top of it, that you're going to do for your game.
Yeah.
Is because I mean, think about when you localize a foreign game, that game is complete, and that vocal staff has to match to an existing product. Like it's not that inconceivable that's one of the last things to happen in a development process.
It's pointing out that depending on the length of the strike, this could end up affecting contracts for English dubs of Final Fantasy XIV.
Yes,
Stormblood,
it could also end up affecting the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Oh, well, hold on, wait. Wasn't the strike's only affecting 3 major corporations and their subsidiaries?
That is true. It's the 3 companies that are based in the United States, but
so maybe not necessarily.
Well, yeah, but it gets a little bit confusing when you throw Japanese companies into the mix because you don't really know all the time how people are compensated, or even how they're hired. A lot of times you're hired through the studio by the vocal director, and you're actually being paid by the vocal studio as opposed to the actual game development studio.
And no, Smokey, the changes that we got in Heaven's Word were not because of this.
But I mean, Final Fantasy VII is an actual, the remake there might be a product that could be, that could be affected by this. And I'm just going to say, look, I had the chance to meet with Mina Suvari at Alamo City Comic Con, who is the voice of Aerith, and she didn't have time to give me an actual interview. But when I asked if she would be reprising her role for the remake, she said she hadn't been contacted yet. So
wow,
I mean, I don't know what that says about.
Hold on. The beginning of last year, weren't there like rumors popping around that like they had episode 1 or whatever done, but they haven't contacted anyone for voice acting yet?
Again, the English localization is probably going to be the last process on a game like that. Yeah. But, I mean, I think that says a lot. And plus, also, when you've got FF15 that's going to be released next month, everything is being focused on FF15. Nothing is on 7. No emphasis on 7 yet. I mean, when we start hearing about to my knowledge, all they cut was the trailer. That's it. And I mean, I look.
The trailer's done.
I can't say much more than that because a lot of the conversations were off the record. But most voice actors, when you ask them, "Hey, what do you got coming up?" they'll tell you some really bomb ass shit that they're working on. There's a lot of things. Talking to Tom Kenny, I'm super excited for what Tom Kenny's working on.
Woo!
So, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff is not, you know, like, it's not that closely guarded a secret. That concerns me. It makes me worry. And it should make you worry. And I think that's why we should be very vocal as consumers that this issue needs to be worked through.
Yeah, pay them what they deserve. And not just pay them, give them the proper environment that they deserve to work in.
Exactly. Everyone deserves a comfortable working environment where they're not going to be, harming their future ability to work. And when you've got game sessions that last, hundreds of lines, many of them, repeated screams over and over again, that adds a lot of stress. And so in conditions like that, in sessions like that, there should be an additional compensation for that. There should be additional consideration for those things. If it's a very vocally stressful session, capping the amount of session time. A lot of times you go in there and you get, you just get lines and you do them till they're done. Being a little bit more conscious of what you're giving your performer, what you're asking of your performer. That's not even that much. That's not even a big ask. And then to say, there's a lot of that pushback where people are like, well, what about what about coders and programmers? And they say
Guess what? They deserve more too.
And that's the thing is that, they say that on the, dub side. Well, what about animators? You got animators working slave wages. And you know what? Those people should absolutely unionize. And they should absolutely fight for their right to be fairly compensated. But that just muddies the conversation. It's not about the programmers, because you ask a lot of the voice actors, they're like, yeah, they should absolutely be paid more and compensated more because the margins are so huge. We're talking about billions of dollars that are going back, billions of dollars in profit margins. And you mean to tell me that after a certain point, after you've made so much money on your game that you can't afford to go back and compensate the people who helped make it? This is an incredibly creative field that we all love. To make a video game takes a lot of creativity, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of effort. And those people should be fairly compensated. I get really bummed out when I hear about, people working for $15 an hour, working 60-hour weeks and busting their balls, and they can barely afford to make their rent.
Now, one of the reasons too that when people say, oh, just the money, blah, 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 they're being selfish, all this kind of crap, is there is such a difference between voice actors and an actor. Those are actually qualified as two different positions. Had David Hayter done Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5, he would not have been paid even a fraction of what what's his name? Kiefer Sutherland got. And he would have done so much more work.
Right.
That's why it's fucked up.
Yeah, because Kiefer Sutherland's price tag was probably so high. That's why we didn't hear much of Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5.
And he probably gets residuals from that.
And that's, I think, really the shot in the dick that these voice actors are taking. Is that, you'll have someone like Kiefer Sutherland come in, do a big role in a big video game, and you kind of know in the back of your head, this guy is smart enough to know that this game is going to sell millions of copies, and his agent's smart enough and he's a big enough actor, a big enough star, and a big enough price tag that they probably had to cut him in on residuals. They probably had to. And to know that someone like that is going to step in to a role like that, do way less work, and be compensated far more. Granted, look, Kiefer Sutherland has done a lot of work to get where he is and to earn the price tag that he's allowed to ask for on a project. But it shouldn't give him additional leverage to say, oh, I want residuals and fuck you if you don't want to give them to me. Because obviously the video game industry is coming to him wanting his talent. He can go work on 100 other different things. Yeah. That shitty Designated Survivor show that he's on now. He's got a lot of options.
Bring back Jack Bauer.
He's got a lot of fucking options. And the fact that, he probably got a big residual checks from all of those copies of MGS5. Man, that bums me out because David Hayter, to work on Metal Gear Solid in the past, has taken pay cuts to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the definition of unfair treatment. And absolutely, like it's
hey, let's remaster a game and use all the same lines, but guess what? You don't get paid for them.
Exactly.
Let's put out a greatest hits. You don't get paid for it. Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Skyrim remaster. A lot of those lines sound compressed. A lot of the VO in that sounds compressed. It's arguably a worse version that went out for PS3, Xbox 360 in the first round. And you know what that was? All that is just not wanting to pay your voice actors again. All they did was literally copy and paste. That's it.
Yeah.
And the dumb thing is that somewhere in that process, it got bumped down by, a couple of kilobytes per second.
That's quality.
And guess what? People fucking noticed. People noticed. They're gonna notice. Every time I replay Metal Gear Solid 3, the HD version, I notice this background hum, this high-pitched, it's just this very, very hard to detect, but I hear every time a line goes out. And it's because they didn't bother to redo any of the voice sessions. And it was a fucked up, imperfect session in the first place. Go back to PS2, I may have never noticed that.
Yeah.
Because you make every other sound so crisp that in comparison, you have the budget to bump up your sound effects and the fidelity there. But you're going to copy and paste the voice lines?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Comparatively, oh, wow, that makes the voice line sound like shit. It's happened a couple of times, and it keeps happening. And guess what? If the SAG-AFTRA strike continues, it's going to get worse. Ugh. It's going to get fucking worse. I mean, dude, if, imagine a game comes out and just... You can't even listen to the voice acting.
I'd love to play Disgaea, but I can't get past that weepy voice acting. And that's top quality weeb too.
That's just anime, man.
It's true.
It's part.
But what if they have to go to that kind of voice acting for all the games we love because they're the only ones who will do it?
Anime.
Yeah. So look, this is something that is really important. I'm glad that we had a way to talk about it here on Limit Break Radio. And yeah, look, if you want to know more about this, again, you can check out a lot of different sites about it. You can search SAG-AFTRA to know more info. And also, we want to say a huge shout out and thank you to James Arnold Taylor for giving us some time. JamesArnoldTaylor.com, YouTube.com/James Arnold Taylor. Check out the Jat channel as well as Twitter.com/Jat Actor to find him on Twitter. Super cool guy. It was a really big pleasure to get to know him. And thank you so much to James for doing that. By the way, he can also be seen on the film I Know That Voice. If you're interested about voice acting and you want to know more about it for video games, for cartoons, and you want to understand how much these people legitimately care about the craft that they do. This is a craft. Most everyone who does this looks at Mel Blanc as a fucking hero. And that's the thing, is that there is a very real craft. There's an emotional connection to this. Okay? And all of these folks have that emotional connection. So you can check out the film I Know That Voice if you want a just like almost a first-hand account of what it's like to be a voice actor. By the way, James Arnold Taylor featured in that as well. You can find out how he had landed on the voice for Fred Flintstone. It's actually a really interesting story. I invite you to check that out. Now, real quick before we go, normally we have some emails to get through. We will still get through the FFFL before we go, but I did want to talk about WoW real fast, because Juxta had mentioned on one of previous episodes, and you mentioned earlier in this episode, both of you have discontinued your subscription to WoW. Now, this we made a joke at the end of the show that was at my behest, but I want to ask you very sincerely, Why did you end up letting your subscription lapse? Because it did not last very long.
No, and I actually still want to play, right? Like, but I don't have the time. With how much I'm now playing with FF and working, just doing stuff, I just don't have the time to dedicate it. And
That's
it's one of those things where either I'm going to play it or I'm not going to play it.
So-
I can't just do a little bit of it.
So there wasn't like an aspect to the content that like lost your appeal.
No, I wish I was still there. I still want to keep upgrading my relic, trying to get those legendary pieces, but I'm just so tuned into Final Fantasy now because of FanFest, and especially now because of Deep Dungeon.
Yeah.
I just don't have the time for a second MMO.
That's fair. Juxta.
Okay, so
I mean, I feel like you were a little bit more just like over it.
yeah, I'm kind of over it. Like, the biggest thing is that the dungeons, I really, after playing 14's dungeons, WoW's dungeons, really feel weird and awkward to me because it's all about like skipping trash and trying to like jump and like find a way around as much trash as possible.
Okay.
And I don't know, that just doesn't sit well with me anymore. Like I started off as a tank and just like murdered everything and I got yelled at. I'm like, oh, this is a different game.
You were also looking forward to raiding, and
that too, and that never
schedule just didn't fit into your schedule.
Work said fuck off.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, because he told me one day, he's like, dude, I came back for raiding with you guys, and if I can't do that, what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Okay, if that's fair. I just, you'd mention it. You made passing mention of it, and we had stopped for an entire episode to say, like, look, what is WoW doing well?
Yeah.
And then to just hear that a month later, like, you're like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah, nothing to do with WoW.
I just kind of wanted to follow up
Nothing
on
to
that.
do with WoW.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so before we get out of here, let's check in with what's going on in the FFFL.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your Week 12 FFFL update. With this week's update, the regular season has officially drawn to a close and our playoff picture is set. So with that in mind, let's turn our attention to the week's results. First up, the Balam T-Rexars crushed El Negro Grande to close out their season on a 3-game win streak. Despite the run of victories, they were too little too late, as both the T-Rexars and El Negro Grande can officially hit the golf course.
You suck!
The Red Wings are officially not the worst team in FFFL history, as they picked up their first win of the season in the 11th hour.
Congratulations!
Feels bad, bro.
No one actually attended the match, so we can only assume the Red Wings won the coin toss. They advanced to 1-11 as Beambo finishes out the season 0-12. The Melusin Marauders lived up to their role of spoiler, managing to take down the Edelweiss Avengers. Unfortunately for the Verminion Lords, sponsored by Godbert brand Spray on Tan, so did Titan's Banana Hammock.
Oh, I get sponsored now after I lose?
Well, you got
Yeah, I don't want to hear
team,
it.
so.
I don't want to hear it.
Just saying.
I don't want to hear it.
With both teams losing, the Edelweiss Avengers will back into the playoffs.
Woo!
Lastly, this brings us to the match between the Chicobos and the Super Senpai Megaforce, who managed to have a perfect tie in their matchup. The final score stands at 31-31.
Oh, Jesus.
Of course they fucking would.
Meaning that if they meet in the playoffs, it will be at a neutral site.
I
Both teams
smell
fall to
collusion.
10-1-1.
Definite collusion
I
here.
say we send them to the Red Wings arena.
This sounds
Oh, yes. If they meet,
sketchy.
they are playing in the Red Wings Stadium.
Look, this just sounds really sketchy.
This sounds like Nika being like, no, just vote, just vote for who you want. No, they did not. I don't.
This
believe
is
they tried.
horse shit.
I agree.
Melkyria, I'm still in the playoffs. What the fuck do I care?
Jesus, it stinks in here.
So with no waiver wire available, we turn our eyes towards the playoffs. The two matches are up for grabs this week as the division championships are decided. In the Eastern Division, the Chicobos will welcome Titan's Banana Hammock to the missing member.
Bring it!
Titan's Banana Hammock is coming off a strong finish to the season and will look to avenge disappointment from last year, but the Chicobos have already won this matchup twice this season. Meanwhile, over in the Western Division, the Edelweiss Avengers will gear up and hit the road, traveling to the Chaos Shrine to take on the Super Senpai Megaforce.
Son of a bitch.
The Megaforce won their first two matches against the Avengers, but everything is that much harder come playoff time. Lastly, we need to address a little bit of drama that arose during the Banana Hammocks and Verminion Lords match this week.
Oh, what?
The FFFL would like to remind its fans that while we appreciate enthusiasm for the game, it is vital that the field of play not be tampered with in any way. As such, fans will be subjected to a bag check upon entering any match this week, and all dildos, vibrators, clamps, strap-ons, cock rings, lubricants, butt plugs, leather restraints, ball gags, blindfolds, and artificial egg implantation paraphernalia are expressly forbidden from events.
What the fuck happened?
Remember
Jesus.
to head on over to limitbreakradio.com this Tuesday night for your weekly FFFL update and cast your vote on our first playoff round at twitter.com/limitbreakradio.
Well, there we go. There's your results from Season 2 of the FFFL. Of course, we now move into the playoffs, which I can stop giving a shit at all about this.
It doesn't matter to you anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm checked out.
Never really mattered to me in the first place, but it really doesn't matter anymore.
What about, don't we have like the loser toilet bowl thingy going on?
That would be for whoever loses this week's games.
Okay, there we go.
They'll play the toilet bowl.
Yeah, so I'm not even running in the running for the toilet bowl. So
No, you are in the running for second pick overall next year. That's what you get.
That's not the worst thing.
Actually, you get third pick overall because part of Callow's punishment is that he gets last pick. So
Wait, punishment for what?
for week 1 shenanigans.
How am I still being punished for that?
You were punished that way back then. I just haven't forgotten about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You took away 2 of my team members that I didn't want to begin with. But
Clearly,
that's not the
it
point.
really affected you.
Yeah.
Don't we have something else to read now?
No. I think,
a story of some sort?
Oh, do it. Did we want to read this before we take off?
Yeah, I was to say we're running late, so we can do it next week or we can do it now.
It's Kahlo, this was you were asking.
Wait, what?
Were you asking? You were asking to read this email.
I'm not reading
No,
this
he
email.
wanted me to read this
He's
email.
reading this email. Or Juxta, one of those two can.
No, Juxta can't read this email.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fine.
It stars me.
Go ahead.
It does star you.
We'll do one email.
Okay, could I get a little mood music for this email?
Oh wait, it's that email?
Yeah.
No, fuck this. We're not. No, we're done. We're done. It's over. We're done. We're gonna have to get to that some other time.
Yeah, next week, like
Yeah.
first thing.
I kind of want to be here though.
Well, then be here.
Yeah, make that choice.
I can be here for half of it.
You can call in.
Dude,
It's 4:07. I know.
Yeah,
we're
like
running late.
8 minutes over here, bud.
I think we read it first thing next week.
Yeah.
Just right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
I think we could just not.
No. We're
dude,
reading it.
No, we could just not.
Oh my
you
gosh.
say that.
Look at the chat. They are blowing up. They want to hear this
man.
right now. Give it to them next week.
Yeah, too fucking bad.
I think it's first thing.
Wait.
I want it now.
Why don't we make it a stretch goal? Yeah.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
What's this worth to you, Nero?
Oh, we're gonna put some teeth on it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get us back above $2,000 on Patreon, and then we'll listen to this this amazing
Oh my God.
email or story or whatever the fuck this thing is.
All right. So next week,
Something
if we're
beautiful.
above 2,000, Ascalia will read the story.
Daddy promised.
If as a little bit of incentive to put out there for you, the title of this story is "Call Me Daddy."
And you really can't understand why I can't find the time to do this bit.
Oh,
like
I
you
can
can't.
understand. That's
you
what
can't.
I'm saying. Like you want to do it as a stretch goal. I'm gonna read it. Like I
See,
right,
see
so
the funny
let me
thing,
ask you
here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing is that when we were like sitting there going back on the gear stuff, I can't believe that you didn't call me out for running out the clock.
I thought you were doing that during the voice acting
See,
stuff.
that was it. I thought it was happening in the voice acting thing, but I'm like, well, geez, they actually did give us a nice interview. We're not gonna like
Fuck
tap
y'all!
out on that.
I ran out the clock on this bit.
Nero,
Y'all
let
can
me
go
ask
to
you this.
shit.
Let me
we
ask
are
you this.
done. No, we're this episode
Look
is
forward
over.
to it next week, guys.
This episode is over.
Wait, donation.
Thank you, Zero. I appreciate the donation. There
It's
is no
coming
story.
next week,
It'll
don't worry.
be here next week.
It's coming
maybe.
next
Who
week.
knows? Patreon.com/Limit Guys, I want to thank you for joining us here at Twitch.tv/Limit LimitBreakRadio, Facebook.com/Limit I want to thank my crew, Juxtaposition, Kahlo Landis, for hosting last week, Ascalia Rayumasa, as well as our interns, Papa Woody and Kooky Persona. That's going to be it for Limit Break Radio this week. I'm Nero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Kooky Persona and Kahlo Landis. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Captain Failboat, Zurian Urexin, Azura Giacho, Bianca Forwin, Kalina Ashsaber, Thor Carson, My Waifu, Satori Komeji, Darbykins, Sakura-chan, Dark Flux, Nullpacker, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.